Fairbanks Independent School District Board of Trustees is now convened in a regular board meeting on Monday, November 14th, 2022, in the boardroom of the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District Instructional Support Center, located at 10300 Jones Road, Houston, Texas, at 6 p.m. I want to welcome the members of our audience and our television viewers to this meeting of the Board of Trustees. As the Cypress-Fairbanks Board of Trustees, we're here to set goals, listen to reports, approve budgets, contracts, personnel appointments, and make policy for the district. It is not the role of the board to make day-to-day operational decisions. The management and day-to-day operations of the district are the responsibility of the superintendent. We have policies and procedures in place to resolve concerns and issues. This is a public meeting of the Board of Trustees, not a meeting of the public. The meeting is open to all who wish to attend and hear the matters discussed. Audience members may not participate in the meeting outside the designated agenda items for citizen participation or public comment. Disruption of the meeting by any person, including the audience, is inappropriate and will be addressed by the board president or the board's counsel as a meeting parliamentarian. Continued or repeated disruption of any board meeting by words or action may result in removal or loss of the privilege to attend the meeting. Prior to this meeting, board members received information related to items on tonight's agenda. Agenda items will not necessarily be handled in the order listed on this notice. During the course of the meeting, the board may determine that a closed session is necessary. In that event, the board will meet in closed session to consider matters duly posted for this meeting as permitted by sections 551.071 through 551.084 of the Texas Government Code. These proceedings are airing live on Comcast Channel 16 and the district website. They will also be available as video on demand on the district website following tonight's meeting. For the video to adequately reflect the proceedings, I respectfully ask that you please refrain from talking while others are speaking, and if you would, make certain that cell phones are turned off or in silent mode. Thank you for taking the time to join us this evening and for your interest in the Cypress-Fairbanks Independent School District. We have no elected officials or scouts in attendance this evening. At each open meeting of the board, patrons who have registered in accordance with the procedures established by BED regulations may address the board during the designated agenda comments period prior to the board's consideration or action on the item. Patrons wishing to comment on more than one agenda item must complete a separate agenda comment request form for each item. Unless the agenda is otherwise rearranged by the board president during the meeting, agenda comments will generally be taken prior to each agenda item. Also, in accordance with the procedures established by BED regulation, patrons may address the board during citizen participation on any matter of interest or concern that are not posted agenda items. Individuals may only register to speak one time per meeting under citizen participation. Unless the agenda is otherwise rearranged by the board president during the meeting, citizen participation will generally be held after reports and action items. In order to participate in agenda comments and/or citizen participation, patrons may sign up using the designated registration form link posted in the meeting agenda on the district's website, beginning when the meeting agenda is posted through 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting. The registration form must be completed in full, and each patron must be present at the meeting to make his or her own comments during the agenda time for agenda comments and/or citizen participation to be eligible to speak. Any registered speaker who is absent from the meeting at the time for agenda comments and/or citizen participation forfeits the opportunity to address the board at that meeting, but may submit written comments to the board. Patrons who have registered to speak this evening may see the order of names listed on the screens to your right and to your left. Before your name is called, please move forward and sit in one of the two reserved seats on the front row. The invocation for tonight's board meeting will be given by Ryland Scott, Executive Pastoral Ministries Lead at Fallbrook Church. Ryland and his lovely wife, Robin, have been married for 18 years and have one son, Raylan, who is a proud percussionist at Rowe Middle School. Ryland is honored to serve the Cy-Fair community, and Ryland, we thank you for being here tonight. Before the invocation, I would like to introduce the Cypress Lakes High School Air Force JROTC cadets who will be presenting colors this evening. Carrying the Texas flag is Cadet Major Amani Jordan. On left rifle, Cadet Master Sergeant Julian Hernandez. Carrying the U.S. flag is Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Leslie Mondragon. And on right rifle is Cadet Captain Tristan Thomas. These cadets present the colors to you under the direction of Lieutenant Colonel Joel A. Jones, U.S. Air Force, retired. At this time, I would ask for you to please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Shall we pray? Let us bow our heads and pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for allowing us to assemble this evening to conduct school business, as well as being able to exercise our freedom to pray. Lord, we pray that tonight's board meeting is efficient and effective. We also pray for all of the board members, our superintendent, Dr. Henry, and all of the leadership of Cy-Fair ISD, that as they must make decisions concerning the education and future of thousands of students, that they make the best decisions that will continue to allow this district to be one of the greatest school districts with the greatest schools, the greatest educators, and the greatest students. God bless Cy-Fair, God bless Texas, and God bless America. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please be seated. Board member Gilbert Sarabia will read the district's vision and mission statement for the benefit of the audience.
Our vision at CFISD is formed from the acronym LEAD, to learn, empower, achieve, dream, lead. Our mission is to maximize every student's potential through rigorous and relevant learning experiences, preparing students to be 21st century global leaders.
We will now proceed with the remarks and recognitions portion of the agenda. 1A, Superintendent Dr. Henry will make remarks and announcements regarding the honors and achievements earned by staff and students in recent weeks and provide information regarding district and community events or items of interest. We have one speaker on this topic this evening, Dr. Tara Cummings.
Last week, Woods, Bridgeland, and Cy-Fair High Schools competed in the UIL State Marching Band Contest. All three bands represented CFISD exceptionally well, and I was so happy to see a number of our leadership there to support them. I'm so grateful that our district invests in our fine arts programs. From a proud band parent, thank you. I want to specifically give props to my son's band, Woods, who placed 18th at state. 18th. There are something like 249 Class 6A high schools with marching bands in Texas. 18th. It's remarkable. And it simply couldn't happen without our amazing directors and parent volunteers. I want to brag on the directors at Woods for a second. Mr. Harrington, Peterman, Byers, Casillas, and Montero. It's obvious how much they love and respect the kids, and in turn, the kids love and respect them. They have, of course, taught them the skills of playing music and marching, but more so, they've taught them invaluable life lessons like commitment, resilience, community, and good old hard work. And they've done it all with immense love. Let me share with y'all a message that Mr. Peterman sent the kids. We are so proud of all of you. What a great way to end our season. You have created a name for yourselves in the band community, and we cannot wait to see what you do going forward. Love you lots. That, right there, is the strength and beauty of public education. Those who insist that schools should only teach the basics of reading, writing, and arithmetic simply don't get it. It's so much more. To the extremist minority in Cy-Fair, including our 3 extremist board members, who continue to accuse our teachers and staff of grooming and indoctrinating students and who screech about parents' rights, it's time to grow up, get a grip, and show our teachers and staff the respect and gratitude that they absolutely deserve. I, for one, am forever grateful.
That is not on topic for item 1A.
Okay,
I'm
I'm done.
sorry.
I appreciate our teachers and staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Henry.
Thank you, Mr. President, trustees. October was an eventful month in Cy-Fair ISD. Please enjoy this October recap video highlighting how our students and staff brought out the best. It was quite an eventful month, and I felt like I needed to help that video. I need to churn it along a little better. I don't really know that beat, but then I'm kind of old too. So, as was mentioned, congratulations to the Cy-Fair, Bridgeland, and Cypress Woods High School marching bands for placing in the top 30 at the state marching band contest, November 7th through 8th in San Antonio. And here's a brief video highlighting the state contest for you to enjoy. We'll see if it goes a little faster. You know, it really is exciting to have 3 bands here from Cy-Fair ISD. My chest swells with pride every year at the state marching contest.
You know, performing is just so fun. Like, you really get to be your best self out there, and you get to express your emotions and who you really are. And it's really my favorite thing ever.
Just super excited to be here among the top 42 bands in the state. We're just trying to develop a culture of excellence and accountability so that we can have more trips here and more performances at this caliber.
It feels just great. This band's been working really hard, but once you buy into it, you can do anything. Like, whatever idea is put in front of you, if you put your mind to it, it just feels great.
It's just an incredible testament to the great work that our fine arts department does, our band directors do, the support our parents give, and of course the talent of our students. Congratulations to the Bridgeland High School boys and girls cross-country teams who both placed among the top 10 teams at the state championships on November 4th. Bridgeland runner Emily Ellis placed 13th overall to earn all-state honors. Schools throughout the district paid tribute to our community's greatest heroes, our veterans, last week in observation of Veterans Day on November 11th. Thank you to all of the veterans in the CFISD community who have served or are currently serving our nation. The 13th annual Houston Methodist Cy Hoops Invitational is set for December 8th through the 10th, hosted by 3 high schools, Bridgeland, Cy-Fair, and Cypress Ranch, and featuring winners bracket games Friday and Saturday at the Berry Center. This year, the Final Four Fan Jam truck will be at the Berry Center from 10 a.m. to noon on December 10th. Bring the whole family out to enjoy a fun basketball tournament supporting the Cy-Fair Educational Foundation, and you can find more details on the website. But I would tell you that the last I heard, we have nearly 10 state-ranked teams that will be playing in that tournament. So it'll probably be the greatest high school collection of talent in the state of Texas for that weekend. CFISD schools and facilities will be closed the week of November 21st through the 25th for the Thanksgiving break. I wish everyone a safe and restful holiday as we spend time with loved ones and reflect on our blessings. Thank you, Mr. President.
We will now proceed with board comments. 2A, board members may make comments during this portion of the agenda regarding schools visited, meetings and conferences attended, district and community events and initiatives, or continuing education. The board may not take action on items discussed. There are no speakers on this topic this evening, so we will start with board comments. Let me turn to my right. Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Jackson. Good evening. First off, I'd like to say by saying I'm immensely proud of our student athletes, our band members, our coaches, our directors, and our staff, and of course all of our volunteers, but of course our parents as well, for the proud accomplishments they've made this past year. This has been a fantastic year for our staff, and my congratulations on your successes. I'm sure there's a lot more to come as well. Unfortunately, my time since this last meeting has been spent with 4 walls at a hospital. I've been helpless to do anything, wondering how I could take the pain and suffering away from my own kiddo, unfortunately. It gives perspective on life. You're helpless to hurt. You're helpless to do anything for your kid. Your soul is hurting because you can't do anything for your kid. When you're in the hospital talking to the other parents who their kids are sick, and some are terminal, unfortunately, you're truly humbled by the experience. It gives you a different outcome on life because you're on your knees praying for a miracle to happen. I can't thank enough of the people who reached out to me, who came and visited me, who offered calls and cards for me. Thank you very much. While our road is still long and the journey is still not over, we pray the doctors will find a solution for my daughter. As we enter this Thanksgiving week, I want to offer up a suggestion that we all take off the time needed for this time, that we encourage each other, that we unplug. But not only that, we call a friend, we call a parent, we call a grandparent, because life is too short for have regrets. Enjoy the every last minute you have because you don't know when that might last be. My sincere hope and my prayer is that maybe we can take this Thanksgiving break, we can make it last longer. We can make it last into next month and maybe into next year as well. And just maybe seeing the best in our humanity, by treating others as our neighbor, we can maybe also see the positive changes in our school and maybe in our community as well. I want to thank you again, and I want to wish you all the best that Thanksgiving has to offer to you and your family. God bless you.
Natalie.
I want to thank all those in attendance and online. Your participation and your voice are important in local governance. We represent you, the community, and we seek to partner with parents in the well-rounded development of your children, helping them reach their full potential. Gracias a todos presentes y en la red. Su participación y su voz son importantes. Somos aquí para representar a ustedes, nuestra comunidad, y queremos trabajar con ustedes, con padres y familia, en el desarrollo de sus hijos hasta ayudarles a realizar su potencial último. Want to, as the fall sports season winds down, we had lots of incredible people who've already noted, but thank you to all of the coaches who have poured into the lives of our athletes and all of the fine arts directors who have molded the lives of our artists. You make a huge difference in the lives of our young people. The quality of your programs and relationships is noted and appreciated. Best of luck to those teams proceeding on the playoffs. Cy Falls and Cy Fair football, go fight, win. Thank you to all of the teachers, librarians, other staff members, and volunteers who have given countless hours to comply with the state mandate and meet parent requests around our book collections. I know time is a luxury in schools, and your time is deeply appreciated. I want to extend my appreciation to the Cy Fair Educational Foundation for a wonderful event, honoring the military and raising funds for scholarships for our students. Both are incredibly worthy endeavors, and I appreciate the work and the partnership of the Cy Fair Educational Foundation, so critical to much of what we do here. I also want to thank the school leadership teams for your thoughtful work on your campus improvement plans. It's apparent you were thoughtful and caring about what your students, families, and staff need to be successful. If there are any obstacles standing in the way of accomplishing these goals, we, the board, are charged with setting goals, the budget, the conditions within which Dr. Henry and his amazing team are able to lead the team to success. Our job is to monitor progress along the way via output data in order to understand if course correction or resources are needed. We stand to make every school and student successful as a reader, mathematician, person. You have my belief and my support. As we enter into Thanksgiving season, I do reflect on how thankful I am to serve the 117,000 students of Cy Fair and all of the staff, parents, and community members around them. I wish each of you a blessed and restful Thanksgiving break.
Gilbert.
Welcome everybody here. Nice to have everybody here participating. I'd like to start with salute to the Heroes Gala that we had a chance to attend, and we're honored to attend. Me and my wife were honoring the veterans and veterans past in a really moving event. It really touched home a lot, and well done, and absolutely a pleasure to be a presence. Visiting McGowan and Bridgeland High schools were outstanding with my fellow trustees and elected officials. From going to seeing all the little ones greeting us as we entered the building, and that was their, what would you call it? Their tour guides, I guess, but they were very proficient. McGowan is outstanding, just like all our other schools. Bridgeland, of course, I got to see a different side of it. Me and Tom walked around and asked many questions outside our tour. I think they were chasing us back into the bus to make sure we got back in time, but they were worthwhile. I mean, I'm truly amazed every time we take a visit to a campus. It's totally surprised at the level that passion of our educators and our students. It's very rewarding, to say the least. For the bands competing, just like any other activity, the hours and hours you put in there to compete, kudos to everybody going on and just in competing. Congratulations to them and the parents. Also attended many games, of course, playoff games. I got to actually work a couple of playoff games. I was fortunate to see Langham Creek multiple times. Their volleyball team is outstanding. They have a young lady, 6'4", 6'5", who's a sophomore. And she is just outstanding. And the sky is her reach. She's an outstanding young lady as well, too, though. But they ran into a machine being Bridgeland, which is total machine just working the process. But just outstanding seeing the parents and the support group and the students yelling from one side against the other students in a good manner. It was good to see the competition throughout and everything else. Good days. I want to go back to this weekend. We saw, at least I saw, LSU did win out over Arkansas, and the star athlete for LSU was a freshman linebacker from Cy Park, Mr. Perkins, who was an A&M decommit at the last minute, but went to LSU. Thank God for LSU, because he had 4 sacks and was just terrorizing the Arkansas quarterback all day long. But as a freshman at that level, from our district is amazing and stuff. So kudos to the young man. Also, I want to let you guys know that the Astros won a World Series. Me and Ginger, after the first game of watching abroad with our kids at a destination, they lost. So, and the second game they won at home. So me and Ginger watched every other game at home. And I would usually come from practice not bathed yet, and they won, so I'm sorry I did not bathe for the rest of the time till after they won each game. I just had to share that. I was superstitious. I'm not going to break it. It wasn't going to be my fault that they didn't win. But they did win, and I did get to shower at the very end, and we took off to downtown and celebrate with our kids. Also, I want to reach out to on my visits and everything else. We thank everybody that works for us and the educators and everything else, but the librarians, and you'll hear later on today about the countless and hundreds and thousands of hours they put in to make sure that policies are worked accordingly. We have, I'm going to call her the librarian czar. She's in charge of the thing here, and she is fantastic. And I just went kudos since the last meeting, raving about it to everybody that I could talk to about how our district was handling business in the greatest way that I could do. Have it be wherever I was at weddings, games, or events, I was bragging about our district and about what our librarians were doing. It's simply amazing, and I'm very, very proud to serve for this district, for the community, and I'm very happy to be on this board with my fellow trustees here too. So.
Lucas.
Thank you, President Jackson. So again, echoing some of the comments that have already been stated tonight, as a former band director, musician, fine arts person, someone who's spent a lot of time in rehearsal, I was very grateful this year to spend time with band directors around the district and attend the various games, regional area. I could not take time off for state, although I tried as hard as I could. But, you know, I have a job.
Sure does get in the way, doesn't it?
So, yeah, there's that. And I've already burned all my other time with school visits, so I couldn't do that. But it was really wonderful being able to see the effort and dedication and, you know, just one of those moments, the things that you remember. There was something that I was so impressed with. It was actually regional competition. And there was a young man, and the young man could not have weighed 100 pounds. Could not. I mean, just small person and carrying a euphonium that was as big as he was, and his uniform was loosely fitting, and it was obviously the smallest one that they had, but the dedication and the fire in his eyes. I was on the sideline, that's where I like to be, and just the passion in his eyes reflected the zeal imparted to him by the band directors and the encouragement. And so it was truly wonderful to see. So we saw a whole, you know, a broad range of talent and time, but all of it was dedication. And it was really great to hear all the sounds, the maturity coming out of the groups and being able to connect with the fine arts instructors. it was wonderful seeing the small village that our band director community is. They all have deep relationships. They all go back 20 years. They all know each other. They were either taught by somebody who taught them. There's a lot of legacy here. And so it's fun to see the camaraderie that is happening right now among our school districts. And, with your directors of fine arts, Dr. Henry, they're okay. They're pretty good too. And for our football teams and football programs, it's very clear when I watch those games that I am no longer 18, because watching those young men run around and the things that they do, wow. So congrats to Cy Falls and Cy Fair as they continue on their journey for excellence, and I look forward to seeing how that plays out. And as transitioning to our librarians and the effort that they've applied, and to the technology team after a working session, I harassed our technology leadership in the parking lot for another good 40 minutes after the meeting. They took it very well. But I understand the complexities of working with a system, and to our librarians are, when someone says that when they walked by the office and you were informing them that they would help you in getting the system installed and configuring it in a manner that would help you do your business. I understand everything that's not being said there. And, so our technology, and to you, I'm glad that you're getting the collaboration that you needed from our vendors, and thank you to our technology team for supporting. And to all of our librarians and our teachers who continue to strive to help support parent visibility and really just reaffirm a whole capability of excellence and transparency that our parents and we all would like to see. It goes a long way. And then lastly, for all the programs around the district regarding Veterans Day, so I want to say thank you for all the effort that we put in towards Veterans Day and taking that very seriously and giving the credence it deserves. My friends who are veterans were deeply moved, deeply touched as they attended where their kids go to school and hear their kids sing the Armed Forces songs back to them. It just reinforces the commitment to the community and their connection to the schools, which I think is wonderful. Thank you.
Debbie.
Sure. First of all, I know she's not watching tonight, but I'm going to tell her to go back and look at the board meeting. I want to give a shout out to my oldest granddaughter, who is celebrating her 21st birthday today, to Brooke Blackshear. Hard to believe I'm a granny, right, of a 21-year-old. But I have just the sweetest granddaughter that there is. And I'm sorry, I get emotional. But I missed the October meeting because towards the end of September, I got the flu and spent 5 more days in the hospital. I kid the people at Methodist and tell them that I'm on their frequent flyer program because, unfortunately, in this past year, I've been there four different times. But, COVID's just the gift that keeps on giving, and there's always something new and something different, so all I can do is fight. And there's one thing about this community and this school district that I so love, because all of the way I get texts from principals, administrators, people in the community, that give me that inspiration to keep on fighting. And I will not kid you, this last time really kind of kicked me in the butt. And I missed the board meeting, and I missed some other important things. Fortunately, I got to see some football games the first part of the season. And but anyway, I'm back and still fighting and still kicking. So however I go, I'm not going to go easily. But anyway, I just want to say thank you to all of you who continue to pray and support me. And Scott, I know exactly what you're saying about how important that support is when people reach out to you, because, until you walk that journey, and I call it my COVID journey, and I post my COVID journey updates on Facebook. but you know, I am ultimately going to kick its butt. I was able to attend Salute to Our Heroes. It's a wonderful event, as those who attended it stated, and I'm so proud to be part of the Cypher Educational Foundation. I don't know how long I've been on there, but it's been about 25 years plus, maybe 30. And to see the things that this foundation for this school district continues to do to support not only our students with scholarships, but they also support the teachers with grants and do such a phenomenal job. And Marie Holmes does such a phenomenal job of leading our foundation. I am excited because Friday I go back to reading to my first grade class at Danish, to Mrs. Hutto's first grade class, and I haven't done that since we stopped for the pandemic. So I'm so excited to be returning to reading to my kiddos, and also be returning to doing some school visits. And Nina is working on that for me right now. So just to give our principals a heads up, I'm not able to walk the entire building. I'm able to walk some of the building, but I am so excited to get back to our schools and to be able to see all the great things you are doing. I mean, I see Liz Miller out there at Swinky, and last year her third graders all made get well cards for me. I mean, what a big boost that was to me, and just raised my spirit so much. But that's what I'm talking about, community. When you this Cypher is the greatest community there is. And a shout out of appreciation to all our teachers and our librarians. We have had so many successes already this school year. My gosh, with football and volleyball, and now we have basketball starting, and so many great things happening. And thank you to our librarians, as others have expressed, for all the hard work you are doing, cataloging and scanning your books. And to let's don't forget our classroom teachers. I mean, and besides teaching their classes, they're working on getting their books cataloged and scanned. So thank you to all, because, you know, it takes a team effort, all of us working together, and I think Cypher ISD has the greatest team. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone, and a safe holiday.
Julie.
As my colleagues have said, there's been so many great events and opportunities to celebrate the great things happening in Cypher ISD and to connect with our community. Since the last meeting, I have continued mentoring at Cy Falls and Cy Park High School weekly. I attended the counseling department's internet safety parent information session in the middle of October at the Berry Center. This was really well attended. Parents are clearly concerned about internet safety for their children, specifically issues around gaming, social media, cyberbullying, and having good digital citizenship. What I really was happy to see is that after this big event at the Berry Center, several campuses started having these events at their own school, at their own campus, because I think it's really important to meet parents where they are. And for many times, for parents, it's easier for them to go to their home campus instead of coming all the way to the Berry Center. And this way, they could really ask specific questions about their Chromebooks and about social media sites. Some of the campuses also added some of the information from the last month about substance use, drugs, and so they use this time with parents to really empower parents with information and with resources and support. And again, just I appreciate all the work that principals are doing to provide those information sessions on their campuses in the evening for the parents. My official board visits this last month were to Cook Middle School. I'm wearing my Rangers bracelet today, and to Emmett Elementary School, Yeager Elementary School, and today I went to Hopper Middle School and I made a calming jar in the library, and I got to pick my glitter color, and there's lots of opportunities at Hopper Middle School. Get it? Isn't that cool? Yes, so I appreciate the librarian inviting me in to do that activity while I was visiting the campus. I also attended the 20th anniversary celebration at Sampson Elementary School. That is where my daughters attended, and it was great to reconnect with staff and with teachers there, and I even remembered the school song, so that was pretty cool. I attended the UIL region and area band competitions. Again, we're so proud of all 12 of our high school bands that made it to region, and then the 4 who made it to area, and obviously the 3 that made it to state. I also attended the Cypher Educational Foundation Salute to Our Heroes, and one of the highlights was the Cypress Park High School Chamber Choir performed, and they did a fantastic job. Attended several football games like my colleagues. We had opportunities to host several groups to our community room, the Cypher Education Foundation, the Chamber of Commerce, the Community Leadership Committee, school namesakes, and the Superintendent's Faith-Based Leaders Council. So this, again, is a great opportunity to connect with some of our key stakeholders outside of the regular school day. October 25th was our school priority day, and this had not been done for a couple of years, but it's a good opportunity for community members who don't have the opportunity to visit our schools because maybe they're not parents, as well as our elected officials to come and visit schools. I was part of the group that visited Cy Park High School and Rowe Middle School. Our group was especially impressed by the CTE programs available at both Rowe and at Cy Park High School, and how we are preparing students not just for college, but also for the workplace. This was also a great opportunity as a trustee to interact with community stakeholders and especially our elected officials. For Halloween, the Cypher ISD Police Department hosted their first annual trunk or treat, and it was a huge success. Kudos to the police department. My car was decorated, and I thought I had plenty of candy, but I ran out 3 times and had to send my family out to get more candy. We had over 5,000 participants. It was incredible. It was such a great event, so I'm excited for that opportunity to continue in the future. It's a great gathering place for students, parents, and families. I also attended the Cypher ISD Safety and Security meeting. We'll talk more about that later in the agenda. I attended the Veterans Day program at Millsap Elementary School, which was wonderful, and we'll be attending the Spillane one tomorrow. I joined a podcast at Spillane Middle School. Their one-act play group won big awards at the UIL competition, so I was able to participate in a podcast where they shared their success with their school. And then finally, as y'all know, as part of our goals for the board is to increase stakeholder engagement. And so one of the things that the board has done is to set up this listening tour where we visit with different groups of stakeholders and to ask questions, gather information, look for trends, and then ideally come up with action plans based upon the information we receive from our community. So this last month, I had 2 of those listening tour sessions, one with the Community Leadership Committee and then one with the Superintendent's Parent Leadership Committee as well. Finally, the character trait of the month, November and December, is gratitude, and so I want to share my gratitude for our students, our parents, our staff, teachers, our administration, and for my fellow board members, and just gratitude that we get to all be a part of the school district. So, thank you.
Gilbert.
One thing I did forget to mention, and I'm so jealous of Julie, who does 1,000 things a week. She was invited, there was an early signing period for athletes, for the senior athletes going on to college, and throughout our district, it was the early signing period. It was outstanding. Of course, she was invited to Cy Falls to see the 6'8" center at Cy Falls High School basketball team who had committed to U of H, of course. So go Cougs, and so jealous. There's Coach Flores and them, of course, run a great program at Cy Falls. He is the number 3 recruit in the state and nationally ranked. But when I saw Julie's picture next to him, of course, there was a little bit of size difference there. It was outstanding, and I was so jealous because I will be seeing him numerous times this year on the court, though. But kudos to Julie for getting invited everywhere.
No, so I have to share with you how that opportunity came about. I was blessed to be a mentor for that student when he was a freshman. So I've been pleased to see how he's grown as a student and a young man, physically and academically, and I'm very proud of his accomplishments.
The comments of my colleagues remind me that life impacts our community, life impacts our students, our parents, all who live in the community, and life has probably impacted this board more significantly than any board that has served over the past 40 years. But that's the way life is, right? I, too, attended a couple of major events as my colleagues, and I wanted to share a little different takeaway. So it's Salute to the Heroes. I wanted to say thank you to our state representatives who attended, Lacey Hall, Mike Schofield, both of whom were reelected, on Make School a Priority Day that this board established a number of years ago. Dr. Tom Oliverson, John Rosenthal, Penny Shaw. In addition, State Board of Education, Will Hickman, Audrey Young. And I would point out that all 5 of them were reelected. So I think the message is, if your elected officials happen to be involved and supportive of your school district, they too will have good things happen to them on Election Day. We have always been blessed that our delegation has been present throughout the year at many of our different events. And I just wanted to mention that Gilbert and I had the opportunity on Make School a Priority Day to go to McGowan as well as Bridgeland. As he pointed out, we looked at different items. We were focused more on security questions, and we observed how students came in and out of locked classrooms. How did they get back into the classroom? What if they lost the hall pass? Could an intruder pick up that hall pass and gain entry? What happens when you have a fence around the portables? Is there another fence beyond the fence around the portables? And of course there were. How does the buzzer system work? So Gilbert and I went back into the buzzer room. And there, of course, on the screen, we saw all the doors. So we could tell which doors were open, which doors were closed. As soon as the bell rang, it did my heart as well as my soul a lot of good to see all lights were green, showing all doors were properly closed and secured. But the buzzer room is manned. Somebody is looking at the buzzers. So kudos to this district that made an impact on heightening school security before the governor came out with his first set of regulations. In fact, I attended that national presentation by this school district that laid out best practices for a school district on school security. And when the governor came out with his first pronouncement in the area, it was as if he took what was taught in that seminar and made that his program. This district continues to be ahead of the curve in so many different areas. Doesn't mean we're perfect, doesn't mean we don't have work to do, but still doing great things. As my colleague pointed out, we have established listening post, and I want to say thank you to both Lucas and Julie for attending. I attended a couple myself. I think Julie and Lucas did a better job listening than I did, so there is growth for all of us. Lucas is too nice to say perhaps I used too many words, but that's okay. I'll work on that. I am pleased that this district is so strongly supportive of fine arts, and we actually have a couple of individuals who were active in the band during their high school years, in addition to several more who are band parents. I found it interesting when I chatted with band directors during the course of the fall to find that one very large school district and then one a smaller one, we have their directors here and we're happy about it. But I was sad to hear that those two districts would not be replacing those positions. There are budget matters that impact all of us, but this district has always said fine arts will remain inviolate. We will always support fine arts. All boards have to make choices when you have limited resources, but this district has always come back and said, we will support fine arts. For the 35th or 36th year in a row, I went to the Lowry Veterans Day presentation, and as I have for, I guess, 15 years, I was privileged to speak. I did remind those listening, not only that we said thank you to our veterans, but to the families of our veterans, because they're the ones that stay here when the veterans leave. Sometimes the veterans come back, active duty military service, in a week or a month, sometimes 6 months. Some may take a little longer, and as I pointed out that day, that Major Fanning, December 13th, 1968, Lauis, we are waiting for you to come home, and I know you will, sir. In addition, I attended the security, as is my responsibility, both the public portion as well as the executive session. We will hear some more about that this evening. One of the other points that I would bring out about attending the football games is the faith-based leaders were invited to come, and I chatted with several that were there. This was actually a campaign issue of Christine and I 11 years ago. We strongly urged greater school adoptions. And this also came up when I chatted with the Commissioner of Education when he was just a trustee like us here, when he was searching what made Cy-Fair different. And one of the things that made us different are the school adoptions, but also by faith-based school adoptions. It has an impact greater than what just can be taught in the classroom or out in the playing field. So tonight, I want to tip my hat to the band directors. Once again this year, this district has been recognized as being one of the premier music programs in the United States. I was a proud band dad when a school from this district finally broke through for the first time to make state, and I was privileged to go on that. I will admonish band parents, you get to move things around on wheels. Real band parents carried the xylophones into the stadiums. So until you've done that, I'm not certain you can say that you're a real band parent. And also a tip of the hat to our librarian staff, but also to our technology department, truly a collaborative effort. Thank you all very much. I am grateful to be in this district and representing those who live here. We will now proceed with the action items portion of the agenda. Action items 3A through 3C, E, G, and J were moved to consensus during the board work session on Thursday, November 10th, 2022. We will now review the items that were moved to the consent agenda. 3A, the board will consider approving the minutes of the October 10th, 2022 regular board meeting. No speakers on that item. 3B, the board will consider approving the budget amendments for the period July 1, 2022 through September 30th, 2022. No speakers on this evening. 3C, the board will consider approving the district's 2022 annual comprehensive financial report and single audit report and accept the auditor's report on the district's general purpose financial statements and single audit for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2022. We have no speakers. 3E, the board will consider authorizing the superintendent to execute a memorandum of understanding with New York University Steinhardt for speech pathology field placement. There are no speakers this evening. 3G, the board will consider approving on first reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. There are no speakers this evening. 3H, the board will consider approving on second reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies. There are no speakers this evening on those. 3I, the board will consider awarding bids and contracts and/or authorizing purchase orders as recommended in the posted agenda item. 3I1, Avtech Console System for Cy-Fair Police Department. 3I2, Carpet and Resilient Flooring. 3I3, Movable Walls, Display Panels, Pedestals for Artwork for Visual and Performing Arts Center. That's VPAC. 3I4, Service Tech Truck for Nutrition Services. There are no speakers on that topic this evening. 3J, the board will consider approving construction proposals and contracts paid from bond funds to the recommended contractors and authorize the superintendent or designee to execute all necessary documents related to such contracts as follows. 3J1, 2022, Warner and Woodard Elementary School renovations. 3J2, Visual and Performing Arts Center digital marquee. There are no speakers on that topic this evening. Now, if any board member wishes to remove one or more of these items for further discussion, please do so at this time. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve the consensus items as recommended or amended.
I motion that we approve the consent agenda as proposed.
Thank you. Do I hear a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Now the floor is open for further comments, questions, or discussion, if there is any. Well, y'all really shouldn't ever let me have a microphone that's on. I do have a couple of carryover questions. The first would go to Roy. As part of the new legislation, there's financial forms that have to be filled out. Has the district taken steps to make certain that that information is secure?
Mr. Jackson, yes, sir, we have. Really what is coming is a completion notice, if you will. Once the student parents have completed that, it is a simple email that we receive, not any sensitive data on that, and then that is uploaded and only the counselor has access to that information.
Very good, thank you. And then I have a question for our Chief Financial Officer. Karen, we've been through the audit. We've taken a look at the next round of budget adjustments. I know that one of our neighboring districts was actually written up by their audit team because their budget varied from a material standpoint, and the auditor felt that the estimates just did not have sufficient professionalism and competency evidence. How did we do on the estimates that you presented to us in the budget itself?
You're referring to with the budget for 2021-2022 that's in the comprehensive annual financial report. Okay. Basically, if you look at the final amended budget, and I looked at where I thought we would be, ended up being about $200,000 off from the true deficit. Now, what we had in the final budget amendments that we thought might not occur, but we weren't sure based on timing. One was we always protest the property values, and I felt that we would be getting revenue in of that. That's about $11.4 million. However, you never know the timing, and our auditors won't let us recognize something that material until we know if it's going to come in time to be recognized, which it did. And then the other items are, if you recall, we adopt a budget by fund and function. And if we exceed the function, our actual cost exceed our budget, then it's a finding. So there's a little bit left there that we have to allocate for just in case. But we were very, very close with our final amended budget where we thought we would be.
Doing some quick math in my head, that's you were within 1/3 of 1%. For public companies, the percentage that they look at is 5% after tax or 10% pre-tax. So to be at 1/3 of 1% compared to the limits for publicly held companies is really quite remarkable. Quite a bit of that is skill, but I would suspect you would also agree that some of that may have simply been serendipity as well.
Yes, absolutely.
And the reason why I point that out is in the coming year, we will be talking about the budget. We will be talking about how much wiggle room we actually have. We will all be tempted to do more for our staff, and we will all need to remember budgeting is not precise, and perhaps the cushions won't be there that we would like to think might be there. But we are blessed to have a high degree of competency here, and that's probably the best compliment I can give to somebody in my profession. It doesn't sound like much to anybody else, but within the profession, that's just about the highest mark that can be said. So, having said that, I will now call for a vote for all items on the consent agenda. Those who are in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That is unanimous if you'll record that, Holly. The following items were placed on non-consensus. 3D, the board will consider approving the district and campus improvement plans for 2022-2023 school year. There are no speakers on this topic this evening. May I have a motion to approve the district and campus improvement plans for the 2022-2023 school year as presented?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Trustees approve as submitted the district and campus improvement plans for the 2022-2023 school year.
May I hear a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. We now have an opportunity for further discussion or comments. I do have a follow-up question, and this really goes, I guess, to you, Linda. It has to do with CTE and the question of innovation. Do we tend to stay with what we've always done in the past, or are we on the lookout for new CTE opportunities? So if you would briefly talk about it. It is mentioned in the district improvement plan, but if you would add a little more information to it, please.
So, Mr. Jackson, if you're asking me if we're looking for different externships or internships for our kids or different possible programs that might be out there, we're always looking and reviewing, considering programs. We will often get emails from just different places about another opportunity, and we certainly will follow up. You may recall that the state has a list of CTE or programs of study that they will accept as far as certifications. And so we certainly go through that list, but we have many others that we offer that we feel are important to our students that are not on the state's list that they will consider as part of the accountability system. So yes, we will always entertain some other possibilities if they will enhance our students.
Thank you. Part of the reason why I asked that question is a sidebar conversation that I had with Dr. Macias on the question of artificial intelligence. Now, clearly, we have a little bit of that's in the curriculum, but we know that AI is continuing to grow and expand, and we have to be in front of that wave. The second reason why I pointed that out, we did hear from both of my colleagues, but during the school visits, it was interesting to see how CTE permeated not just the specific class that it was tied to, but to other classes as well. So it's not a silo system. Any other comments, questions? I will now call for a vote on item 3D. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. That's unanimous, Holly. "3F, the school will consider approving dual reading additions, revisions, or deletions to district policies." And before I go on, Marnie, if you would, please remind me what approving dual reading means in this context.
Yes, Mr. Jackson, it means that the policy will go into effect after tonight when the board takes action, as opposed to a second reading next month, which is our standard protocol. That's just what we do in CFISD. It's actually a little atypical. Most districts do a single reading for policies, but we have typically done a a two-step reading. That's why we're explicit when we post what a dual reading means.
And I'm pleased to report that when I asked you that question last Thursday, that your answer was the same from Thursday to Monday. That's always reassuring. 3F1 EFA Local Instructional Resources and Instructional Materials revised. 3F2 EFB Local Instructional Resources Library Materials revised. We have 3 speakers on this topic this evening. Now, as a reminder, as I did with an earlier speaker, if I think we're straying away from the specific topic, I will interrupt you. I get to serve along with council as parliamentarian, and so we set this up so we want our comments to be on topic as much as possible. We have a section at the back end of the agenda where it can be on any topic of your own choosing. The first speaker, Stacy DeMeyer. Mr. Secretary, are you ready? And I will remind you that when the yellow light comes on, that means you have 30 seconds to wrap up. When the red light comes on, you have about 1 sentence to wrap up. If you take more than a sentence, I, of course, will remind you to wrap up. Begin whenever you wish.
The book policy presentation on Thursday was informative, and the discussion afterwards was very insightful. Julie Heinemann asked why this implementation must be done now, with the motivation of her concern being the burden this new policy has placed on our teachers and librarians. As the discussion went on, it became apparent that there is another very valid reason to not rush the implementation of this book policy, namely Tom Jackson's comments about the potential for a statewide book policy that may be different than the one currently being implemented in CFISD. I'm sure all of y'all can imagine the immense disappointment from our librarians and teachers if this occurs. It was stated last week that there were 2,000 hours of overtime already accounted for, and that didn't include the last 2 months of work or what still has to be done. Lucas Scanlon argued that if state legislation was passed that disavowed CFISD's approach, this wouldn't be a total loss because the district is gathering data throughout this process. But the presentation from Thursday showed that enough work, and therefore data gathered, has already been done, whether that data is to use within the district or to pass along to the state to help guide them in drafting a statewide policy. Dr. Natalie Blassingame mentioned the protection of our children as a reason for a quick implementation, and told us an account of a parent's concern about their students' access to the book Flamer. I sincerely hope Dr. Blassingame informed this worried parent of the district's policy that has been in place for years, a policy that has allowed parents to contact their student's librarian and request that their child is prevented from having access to certain books. The implementation of this book policy will not give any additional protection for parents than what was already available. I urge the board to seriously consider the path this upcoming legislative session takes with regards to a statewide book policy, and postpone any further work on CFISD's new policy until we hear what the TEA requires. We cannot continue to allow our librarians, teachers, students, and support staff to be guinea pigs any longer. Thank you.
You ready? Good evening, President Jackson, Superintendent Dr. Henry, and Board of Trustees. Myself and other AFT union members reviewed the reports and remarks made during the work session, and two things stood out. One, in this season of Thanksgiving, we are grateful to have a superintendent that does not falter, does not waver to hyper-politicized or extreme rhetoric from either side of the aisle. The one thing that we can agree on over and over unequivocally is your priority to serve all students in our wonderful district. So for that, we are certainly thankful, Dr. Henry. And secondly, regarding EFB Local, its implementation and timeline categorizing over 1.5 million books. Reminder, the work on this only began end of August, and on Thursday it was shared that at least 2,000 hours of additional work has been done since then by our expert librarians. We're not sure that data fully captures the many hours of additional work also spent by classroom teachers and our volunteers. Simple math would mean 2,000 hours of additional work equates to an unpaid 40-hour work week by at least 50 of our employees. That is free labor. And as one trustee asked, what was the rush? Heaven forbid the legislators headed to Austin in January change current law around this, and we will have to ask educators to go back and add to this work. So while we listen to the discussion about extending this to January, I would be remiss if I didn't state this still feels like something being done to us and not for us, and certainly not for those that are truly serving our students. Trust our librarians, trust our teachers. We ask for the deadline to be the end of the school year, after the legislative session is well underway or even wrapping up. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Golaby.
Thank you, Board. It is my understanding the review and categorization of various books in the libraries has been extended to this January 13th deadline. When January 13th comes, I fully expect the staff to then claim the excuse that with holidays and finals and everything else, we just couldn't get it done by January 13th. There are two questions. One is of will. At the very board meeting that the agenda and the date were originally set, it was proposed a level of citizen volunteers and other resources that could be dedicated to getting this very important issue addressed, and I would have been happy to have been involved in that. The other is of competence. This date, as set of January 13th, is unrealistic given the calendar of events. The staff putting this together knows that they just want to get the board in the habit of extending the date so that they can continue to play a game of obfuscation. It's very telling that books that a Cyfair Book Review Committee that was convened on 12/7 of 21 that picked 15 books that even they identified did not belong on the shelves in the Cyfair School District, yet they are still available. This isn't a silly notion of books being banned or burnt, all right? However, it is a serious discussion of appropriate education material available to all the children in the school district. In a conversation I had with a staff member, we did agree. Hustler magazine was not appropriate material to be in a Cyfair high school library. So there is a level that we can say these materials don't belong in front of our students. I had the opportunity to visit the SpaceX facility in Brownsville. This sexual behavior indoctrination will provide not one Cyfair student the skills to secure a job in rocket science. Thank you.
Now I will entertain a motion to approve the dual reading upon dual reading additions and revisions or deletions to district policies for 3F1 and 3F2.
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. The floor is now open for discussion. And I will also mention that comments can be made that may or may not address comments, and correct me if I'm wrong, Council, by speakers, as long as those comments are on topic for the agenda item.
Yes, that's the reason we did agenda comment as it is. It's a posted agenda item, and so the board can discuss it.
Whereas ordinarily, we would not be able to do so, as long as the comments of the speaker were on topic. So, questions, comments? None. Oh, yes, Julie.
My question, Marty, we didn't get a chance to visit after. That's okay. I just want to, just going through my notes, EFA, I agreed with the changes to EFA. It made sense. And then EFB, my suggestion was just to clarify the chart that talks about the grade span and the content access level, just because I think there's more detail in EFB regulation, but not in the policy. So I don't know if we can make sure, make those, align those a little bit better, or.
Well, that's by design. Typically, the
Okay.
board sets policy, which I've equated it to directions.
Where we're
like
going and
how do I
how to
get
get there.
You know,
Yeah.
go north, young man. You know,
Okay.
whereas a regulation would be take a left on Jones Road. I mean, it's going to be more detail. So what we heard from the board and in response to community input about grade span access was to allow at pre-K through grade 6 to allow young adult to be an option with parent permission. So what this chart says is this is the potential at the grade span.
Okay.
You know, for this grade span, this is the potential. And then in, we say parent considerations, I think it's the
Right,
next
for
section.
5th and for 6th
Right,
grade.
and so you kind of
Sure.
have to.
Okay.
That's kind of the overarching statement, and then we talk about
Okay.
the parents. So we did hear, because we heard some, parents saying that there was some series that maybe some of the later in the series. I know we've used the Harry Potter as an example, but I think those are all juvenile. I don't know if Jennifer's still in the audience, but I think some of the Percy Jacksons or some of those that may be YA, that you may have some advanced readers, later elementary that can, read the thick chapter books like that. And so that was the reason, based on that feedback, that we added that. And then you'll see the detail of how we implement that in the regulation, and that we require parent permission for
Right.
anything beyond the base collection. So to answer your question, which I didn't get to talk to you before, but your question was in grade 6, would you need parent permission for young adult? And that
The
would
answer
be
is
correct.
yes. Right, I just wanted to clarify that, so, okay. Thank you so much for that
Yes.
clarification.
Natalie?
Council, I'd like to just verify that this policy is in line with the requirements that came out from the Commissioner and the Texas Education Agency.
Yes, I'm sorry, turn that off. So we being Dr. Macias and I, and then of course we spent a significant amount of time with you all going through that. We took the TEA suggestions, we took suggestions from TASB, then we actually took really what our librarians were already doing, which is what we talked to you all. We got, best practices from our lead librarians. They're like, hey, yeah, we do that. This is how we've been accomplishing that. And so we just really codified all of that and put it together with the specifics that we heard from you all, that you heard from your community and your employees. And so it really is kind of a mashup. But yes, it definitely addresses I think what I would call the primary points from the TEA policy, which I don't have it in front of me, but specifically defining, what would be allowed, what would not be allowed, and then giving more detail about the grade span in each area, and then giving parents the ability to make that choice. And then we added, even though it wasn't suggested by the policy, we added in our district the overarching from all of this is that you can choose to provide your own reading material for your students. You can opt your student out of access to the library completely. And then within that, if you say, no, I'm comfortable with the base collection at the different levels. I'm comfortable as a fourth grade mom for access to the juvenile collection. I'm not, my kiddo's reading level's not quite there. I'm not real sure the YA books I want to self-select with my kiddo, and so I'll either do a one-off permission with my librarian, which parents were already doing, or, we'll just go to the bookstore and get that together ourselves. So that's really what we tried to craft based on your feedback. Did that
Thank
answer?
you. Thank you for the thorough answer.
And that was your kind way of saying the long answer to your short, easy question.
No, I really like
Yes.
your long answers, actually, so thank you.
Well, I'm glad somebody does. Other questions or comments? To the left, to the right. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. It has been seconded. Discussion is at an end. I will call for a vote. All those in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. The motion's unanimous, Holly. "3K, the board will consider making a determination that good cause did not exist as required by law for Pamela Bentley, Emily Castellano, Leticia Cortez, Deanna Cordier, Harley Dice, Jacqueline Escatel, Ronald Figg, Arlie Flores, Anita Garcia, Isabel Gonzalez, Jasmine Jackson, Alethea Lewis Oldesby, Blake Orsack, Courtney Price, Irene San Martin, Shawnette Shields, and Elizabeth Zimmerman to resign their respective contracts. This item was discussed in closed session pursuant to Section 551.074. There are no speakers on this topic this evening. May I have a motion to approve this non-consensus item as recommended or amended?
Mr. Jackson, I motion that we accept this item and approve it as presented.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
A second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Are there any questions or discussion on the item? I would point out that whatever way this board votes, this is a very clear and decisive message that is being sent to anybody who happens to be on an employment contract. The board reviewed these items for different people last month, and we voted. I made the same comment at that point in time. This is a very serious matter. This district has never taken these steps before. This is a change of direction for this district. And I would point out during closed session, we don't get to vote. But what we do get to do is ask enough questions until every board member can say, yes, I have enough information to make a decision one way or the other. And so that brings us to the meeting tonight. So all in favor of this motion, please raise your right hand. The motion carries, and that is unanimous, Holly. Thank you. 3L, the board will review and consider the adoption of revised board operating procedures outlining the duties of a public official. This item was discussed in closed session pursuant to Section 551.074. There are no speakers on this topic this evening. May I have a motion to approve this non-consent item as recommended or amended?
Mr. Jackson. I move that we adopt the revised board operating procedures outlining the duties of a public official.
Motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion and/or questions on this item? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All in favor, please signify by raising your right hand. Holly, the motion passed unanimously. We will now proceed with the discussion portion of the agenda. 4A, the administration will discuss establishing attendance boundaries for elementary number 58 and middle school number 20 and modifying multiple attendance boundaries. There are no speakers this evening on that item. We have three presenters, Teresa Hull, Christy Giron, Laura Lawless. Who's going to start?
President Jackson, I'll just kind of give a brief introduction to this agenda item. This evening's discussion item and presentation is going to be quite lengthy. So we just kind of ask for you to be patient with us as we go through this comprehensive plan. We really have several priorities, the main one being to establish new attendance boundaries for elementary 58 and middle school 20 that will be opening in the August of 23. And then in looking at enrollment across the district, seeing what relief we can provide to some overcrowded schools and hopefully extend the timeline for needing to look at a future bond program for new campuses. So this is all just our recommendation or options that we are presenting to you. We really want this to be a very comprehensive, involved process for you to be able to give us your input and feedback. I know for several of our trustees, this is a new process for you. It's probably a very different one than we've ever done in the past. So we'll do this in 2 months. We will not be asking, obviously, for you to adopt any of the recommendations or attendance boundaries until January. So this will also give our community sufficient time to provide us with input and feedback that we can look at throughout this process. So also I would share that, you know, if you're going through this and you feel like you want to digest this and sit down and talk about it one-on-one, we would be happy to do that with you also, because sometimes it's just you need to talk it through versus asking questions in this forum. So feel free to schedule that if you feel like that would benefit you.
Good evening, Board and Dr. Henry. Before I begin, I really would like to thank our amazing print center through this whole process. During Derek Thompson and Lisa Billingsley and their team were always willing at a moment's notice to drop everything, print everything that's extremely confidential, maps, documents for all the boundary meetings, especially tonight's 93-page document you have in front of you. They're amazing, and I just want to personally thank them before I started. Last year, I stood before you in November and December and shared a simple option to open elementary school 57, also known as McGowan. Then in the spring, I shared a very minor boundary change for a new development in the Walker attendance zone. I'm here tonight to share with you a very detailed boundary proposal that could potentially affect 44 campuses in our district. I'm also here tonight to let you know that the west side of the district is still exploding. The district is no stranger to the rezoning process. Over the past 20 years, we have changed the boundaries to accommodate the opening of 39 new campuses. 39 new campuses in 20 years. And now the district looks forward to opening the elementary 58 in the southwest corner of the district and middle school 20 in Bridgeland in the fall of 23 and again 59 in 24-25. That would make 42 new campuses in 22 years. When I saw that number, I mean, it's amazing and exciting. With that comes boundary changes. The proposed 23-24 boundary adjustments include 28 elementary schools attendance zones, 8 middle school attendance zones, and 8 high school attendance zones. In this proposal, we hope to do three things. Provide stability in areas experiencing enrollment growth. The district looks at zones that can stay in place for the longest period of time while disrupting as few students as possible when rezoning. Balance enrollment in existing schools. Some campuses have increasing enrollment while adjacent schools have declining enrollment. Attendance zone adjustments will distribute district resources in a more balanced and fiscally responsible manner. effectively utilizing available classroom space. CFISD strives to provide schools with well-rounded programs and opportunities while maintaining room for growth and avoid leaving schools overcrowded or underutilized for a period extended time. Okay. So tonight, we're going to establish attendance boundaries for elementary 58, establish attendance boundaries for middle school 20, that's going to open in August of 23 as well. Establish attendance boundaries for elementary school 59, scheduled to open in 24. Provide enrollment relief to identified campuses. Maximize underutilized campuses. And align feeder patterns due to these boundary changes or suggestions. Okay. When the boundary committee had a full plate this year, it reminded me of when we rolled out the 2-year plan to open Cypress Park High School and Bridgeland High School. This plan is a little more complex because it could potentially impact more schools. The first 2 of these we have to do soon. Those schools will be ready next summer and the kids are coming. The third one, although opening in 24-25, it makes sense to share a plan now since we are recommending moving communities in the surrounding areas in the 23-24 plan. The following people were on the committee. As you can see, there are representatives from transportation, special programs, the accountability department, curriculum, athletics, student services, assistant superintendents over all 3 levels of school administration, and chief of staff, Teresa Hull. The proposal comes after months of critical and meticulous research from the district boundary committee, along with our external demographer PASA regarding demographic trends and enrollment forecasts. For those of you who are not familiar with PASA, PASA stands for Population and Survey Analysts. PASA assists our district in planning for long-range utilization of schools by projecting future student enrollment. Their input helps us know where we need future school sites and when. Okay. We've included a timeline that we would like to follow. Tonight I'm going to share our proposal. Then starting tomorrow, we will post this proposal on our website and share a link for the community to provide input. At the December board work session, we will share and review the community and board input that we've received so far and discuss any modifications, if any, to the proposal. We will then have another month of community and board input during the month of December and the first part of January to then hopefully make our final boundary recommendation to the board on Monday, January 9th, 2023, and hopefully the board will then vote on Thursday, January 12th, 2023. If approved, on Friday, January 13th, we will post our final board-approved boundary changes. The sooner the zones are established, the sooner the district can start working on several behind-the-scenes processes that make this be a place seamlessly open 2 new campuses in the fall of 2023. This includes student transfer requests, projections for all 90 campuses with the approved boundary changes, not to mention hiring all of the staff required to open the 2 schools. All of this will start immediately once the boundary proposal is approved. Okay. When the district boundary committee meets to discuss boundary changes, we consider the following: enrollment projections, school capacities, community neighborhoods, minimizing changes, campus feeder systems, location of thoroughfares, creeks, easements, and other structures, geographical proximity of students to schools, input from the community. And for all of the options that I will share tonight, and for our final recommendation, I can assure you that all of these categories have been considered in all of our decisions. Last spring, we received the yearly demographic update from PASA. As a result, we proposed a boundary change for Walker Elementary. We also shared that we would be addressing this immense growth in the fall when we proposed the boundary lines for 58, 59, and 20. I'm going to show several of these slides again to show where the growth is coming from and where it is projected to continue. Bottom line, again, it's all on the west side of the district. Okay, starting from the top. And by the way, these numbers were presented last spring for the next 4 years. So I want you to keep that in mind when you're looking at this. So Town Lake, SF stands for single family. Over 1,000 single family homes remain available in Town Lake. That is why Rennell is growing so fast. Dunham Point, I noticed the beautiful entrance yesterday while driving in from Austin. Again, over 1,000 lots, and currently Dunham Point is zoned to Alt, Sawyers, and Bridgeland. Bridgeland, 3,400 single-family homes. Bridge Creek, just south of Bridgeland, 626 lots. Avalon at Cypress, there are no students left but they're coming. Marvita, Pasa's arrow on the slide for utilization enrollment is pointing to the common line between the two sections of Marvita. Marvita North, which we rezoned from Walker to Andre last spring, and then Marvita, situated south of Longabout, is right near the West Green Transportation Center. Marvita is exploding. Then west of Marvita and west of 99, we have an Academy development with 1,500 lots. Grand Mason, 1,400 lots. And now you can see for the 26, 27, I forgot what to say on that one. Anyways, let's skip that part. My notes. Okay. This slide shows the projected growth of elementary students for the next 9 years. Look at all of the red. That is greater than 300 elementary students in each of those red sections expected to be coming. Slide B. On this slide, we go from our communities to our actual boundary lines. Again, this is PASA's projected elementary utilization for the now 22-23 school year. Note Hancock, Grinnell, MROB, Sheridan. All of our options will address all of these areas. Okay. This utilization chart is if we don't build any schools. Notice Alt at 160% with Dunham Point. Wells at 233%. You've got Bridgeland, Bridge Creek, Avalon at Cypress. All of those communities currently are zoned to Wells. Walker, 312. Many new developments, we just talked about those. Hancock, 152%. Again, our options will address all of these areas. Middle school chart. It's not as bad. Smith was 2,057 on snapshot. Thank goodness middle school 20 is being built. We will share two options to address the middle school growth. This is if we do nothing. Look at row in 9 years. Again, this is primarily the Walker zone, growing extremely fast. This is something that will have to be looked at in the future as well. PASA's projected high school utilization for this year. Notice the dark orange areas. Bridgeland and Ranch are spot on for their percentages on the projected number. After reviewing Cypress Lake's numbers, we discovered that their snapshot number was not as high as projected, and they are currently at 95%. We're going to share, next slide. Okay, sorry. We're going to share options tonight to offer relief to Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch. And again, this is if we do nothing. I do want you to notice the blue areas, especially Fair Falls and Langham. 4 out of our 5 oldest schools have a declining enrollment. Remember, in 2015, we shared a plan for 2016 and 17. I mentioned it earlier. We shifted many neighborhoods west to populate Cypress Park and Bridgeland. It is time to start shifting some neighborhoods back east. We have room. We have the capacity in other schools to accommodate all of the growth if we shift back to the east. The past 7 slides are really why we are here today. Again, here's our goal tonight. Option for 2 elementaries, option for middle school, relieve Bridgeland and Cy Ranch, better utilize Langham Creek and Cypress Falls High School, options to relieve 6 elementary schools by better utilizing adjacent campuses, and an option to align the feeder patterns due to the boundary recommendations. Okay. Not sure if you can tell, but I'm always a little nervous presenting to you. It is as scary as this boundary proposal can be. I personally am excited and proud of this plan. Many people, many hours, and many, many different possibilities. In front of you are solid options to address the concerns of the 7 slides I just showed of what is happening with the growth and enrollment shifts in our district. I'm going to shift in my teacher mode, I call it, and if at any time you need to stop me so that you can ask a question or get your bearings on the map, please don't hesitate to do so. It's a little different format than you've seen in the past, as Teresa mentioned, and she's warned you it's a lot of information. but you're going to have to take it home and study. Okay? Also, I've never taught behind a podium before. I walk around, I use my hands, and this is going to be hard for me, but I'm going to do my best to describe it when I'm on these slides with the maps. Okay, if you're ready. You can ask whatever you want, Gilbert. Mr. Sarabia?
Okay, just before we go further, on the projected housing occupancy, you have future academy development, 1,500 lots at the very beginning, 50% in CFISD. Is that 50% of 1,500, or is 1,500 the 50% of the 3,000?
I'm assuming that 1,500 is just for the CFISD part, but
Okay,
I will check on that.
Okay, all right, then, thank you.
All right. So here is beautiful middle school or elementary school 58. Its closest big intersection is Clay and Fry Road, but it's actually on the corner of Westville Village and Clay Road. All right. Again, just a reminder, the bottom southwest corner of the district, that's what we're going to focus and zoom in on at this time. I'm sure Rob and Sheridan are thrilled that this school is coming. Okay. Okay. There is elementary 58, it's the red star. It's practically right in the middle of M. Robinson's attendance zone. Notice M. Robinson is right down the street from 58 on Westville Village. So naturally, M. Robinson will look completely different than I want you to notice on all of the charts and what to look for. I would like for you to notice each building's capacity. Notice Sheridan and Wilson have a different capacity than the rest. Wilson's capacity is exceptionally smaller. Then I would like for you to notice and compare 22 to 23 projected enrollment numbers compared to the snapshot enrollment. If the snapshot is higher than the projected number, you can likely conclude that the next 5 years should be a little higher also. Obviously, the opposite would apply. For example, Emory had 25 more kids show up than projected, so essentially you could add 25 kids in the next 5 columns. Where Rob and Sheridan both had fewer students show up than projected, so you could subtract students going across from both of those schools. Regardless, the projected numbers are way above their capacity. So these are our current numbers and current projections. Here are the percent utilizations for those schools using those projections. Notice Rob and Sheridan need relief desperately. Okay, here we go. Okay, at first glance, this is scary. I'm going to say it is, okay? But don't panic, okay? This option has the most changes, okay? I pray by the end you're going to be a pro at this. I'm going to teach you how to read this. First, only look at the left-hand side of the map. The colors represent the current attendance zones. For example, the whole red area on the left is M. Robinson right now. Everybody see that? The bottom left hand looks like an L. Okay? The thick black lines are lassoed around the proposed zones. So easiest example to start is with Wilson on the far east side. Okay? Wilson is currently all of the beige color. Okay? So we're still looking at the left map, but all beige Wilson. We proposed it take a little piece of Sheridan, res code 667, and if you look at the map on the right now, the right side of the page, that area is now beige to reflect that change. You get that one? Because that's the easiest one, so I want to make sure we get that one. Okay? And it is not beige up there. I don't know what color that is, but it's supposed to be a little beige. It's mustard. Yeah, it's way different than mine. So, okay. So now let's look at the yellow star. The yellow star is what we're trying to do, our goal here, elementary 58. Okay, so all of the red that is east of Westville Village is part of 58. And now the light blue section in that black part of that lasso from Sheridan, res code 893B, is now part of 98. Does everybody see that? Okay, good. And if you look at the map on the right now, the yellow area is the proposed attendance boundary for new elementary 58. We following along? Yes. Okay, good. Yes. All right. Now go back to the left side. Look at M. Robinson, the far left. It looks like a Tetris piece, I guess, right now. In the southwest corner. M. Rob will be the rest of the red, which currently attend M. Robinson right now, but we'll be adding the darker blue Emory res code 3360B and the Peach section or Res Code 426B from Hemingway. Now look to the map to the right. You will see all of the red area and the proposed M. Robinson boundary lines with those changes. So remember, just the colors are the now, and the black lines lasso around the new proposed zones. Okay? All right. Now, I know residential codes, do not mean anything to you. To us, they are everything, but more specifically, they're planning units. Okay? So look at the next page while I keep the map on the screen. So look at slide 21. Okay, on this page, this is probably what you're familiar with. It says this page you see a summary of all of the changes. There's a res code number and a description. The number represents the entire area within that res code. The name is just a general name. That's what we call it. There could be tiny little pockets of little apartments or communities, but the majority of that area is we have to name it something. So it's everything within that res code is what we're moving. Okay, so if you look at the very first one, it says Sheridan Elementary School to elementary number 58. If you look up there, we just talked about that. It's light blue. Do you see res code 8930B or 893B? Okay, it's light blue and it's going into the red part. So when we first talked about, now it's all yellow on the right-hand side. That is now the new elementary school 58. Okay, I can go over all of these, or you can just study this later and put this next to the map and you can see exactly what's changing. Are y'all okay with that? Good. GT group. It's a GT group. Okay. This particular option, I do want to explain this part, involved splitting 5 res codes to try to make the boundary option as perfect as we could. There are a lot of schools in a small area in that southwest corner. I wasn't around when these lines were drawn, but I can assure you there had to be a reason they look like that. I call it history. On the summary sheet, when you see a B at the end of a res code, that means we split that res code. Okay? The A stayed with its original school and the B part moved. So when you look at that page 21, anything with the B, like 3380B, Sheridan and McPhee, McPhee has the B part and Sheridan kept the A part. Okay, and you'll see it when you look at the map. Only B's are going to be on this page because that's the only thing that's changing. Okay? All right. Any questions on reading the map or knowing the proposed changes so far for elementary 58? You're doing great. Okay? So with this proposal, you can see the new projected numbers. Look at MROB. Look at Sheridan. Even Hemingway has given some relief. Isn't that just beautiful? It's beautiful. All pretty steady going across, stable. Although we moved some students to Wilson, we do see Wilson trending downward. It does have much smaller capacity, but we're going to continue to monitor the school. All right. I know, again, I've been living this for months, so I get it. So I want to make sure before I move to the next one, I want to go over any questions that you have regarding populating elementary 58. Yes, Natalie?
I think because it's our first time, I don't know all the history. There has not been, no students in these zones that are being moved have been moved before during their school career.
Oh, no, I'm sure they have.
Really?
Yes.
So there is potential there could be
No one
an
ever
individual
did
student?
have before? I'd have to look at the history of that,
Yeah,
but I would say that we may have had some, relief in certain areas or shifts in certain
In
areas.
the last 5 years, we really, we haven't made significant changes there. And we really do try to pay attention to that when we're moving kids because we know the challenge with that of moving a group of kids and then moving them again within their 6 years in elementary or 3 years in middle school. So we do consider that. We can confirm that, but I am not aware of a section that we have moved within that time period. 2 times.
That'd be great, because we know research shows that
Yes,
change does
absolutely.
impact, and so
One-
making sure we're not creating that
Correct.
negative impact if we can avoid it. Thank you so much.
Any other questions on populating elementary 58? I mean, you'll have to process this. It's just kind of going through the how. Yes.
So I'm looking at the border of Pardon me. So I'm looking at the border of 893B versus 893A, and comparing that against section residential code 116. So it looks like the section for 116 has through streets to 893B, whereas the section for 132 does not have through streets to 893A. And I'm just trying to wrap my brain around, when we're looking at Sheridan Elementary in that attendance zone,
Right.
that we have what has been a block that's been fairly consistent, and now 893B will go over to elementary 58.
Right.
Can you walk us through some of the considerations on why you pulled in 893B as opposed to 893A? I'm just curious.
The numbers, we looked at the numbers versus the, so when we separated that, there was a line or easement in between those two sections.
Yeah.
And Sheridan Elementary School, if you look, 893A is kind of due south of it, and 893B.
Yep.
We didn't want to pull in 182.
Yep.
And 58 needed more students, and so 893B was the more logical at the time.
Yeah, I get all that. Okay, thank you.
And we can probably blow up, like when you go to the key map slide, slide
Yeah.
17, it'll help you
That's what I
also
was
with
looking at.
street names and getting a better sense of the roadways and thoroughfares that were kind of used to establish those boundaries. And we can also provide you, with more details on that, on any area that you
Right.
would like to know, the major thoroughfare or roadway that's used. Because on the map, it does look like you're splitting up a neighborhood, which we obviously try to minimize that, but sometimes it's just,
It's like the
happens.
first option
Right.
was both of those sections, and then that was too many, and then the next option was 182, and that was too many. We looked at all of those kind of, and then we decided that, splitting that rose code was probably the best.
Yeah, and as I looked at 893B, the way I kind of looked at it, again, rookie, was just the number of through streets between 893B and 116. Those kids are probably pretty connected,
Good question. Great question.
Okay. Any other questions on 58? Okay, now on slide 23, middle school 20. We considered many options for 20, but we decided to bring only 2 to you tonight. Like, you don't already have enough to consider, but we thought 2 would be, a good starting point. All right, just a reminder why we're here. Last week, again, Smith 2058, they were right on past projections. They were, trying to get her to reach 2,100 before the end of the year. All right. It's located in the Bridgeland Wells complex. Currently, Smith has the entire purple area on this map, and they desperately need relief.
Can I chime in here? On middle school 20, just as we present this is the only plan that we're currently providing you 2 options. And so when you look at this, you'll probably better understand why. But it was that real struggle of just kind of what Mr. Scanlon was just asking about a neighborhood. It's about, okay, do you want to split up a whole community, or do we want to try to keep it together? And you're going to see with these 2 options, you may prioritize one thing and underutilize one campus for a while, but if you flip-flop it, you get the reverse effect in a different area. So I just want to, we struggled with this one and thought it was best to bring you 2 options for this boundary to look at, but it's the only one that we have 2 options currently. I just thought we needed to clarify that because it gets a little confusing that there are 2 options for this, but not 58.
Right. Here are the current projections compared to the snapshot, along with 5 years of projected numbers and utilization percentages using these projections compared to the capacity of Smith. If we did not build Middle School 20, they would continue to grow approximately 200 students a year. So here's option 1. Again, the same rules apply. This is, if you understood the last one, this one's easy. Look at the map on the left. The colors represent the now. So all of the turquoise is Smith. The thick black lines represent new boundary lines for the new Middle School 20 for option 1. Summarizing it with this option, all of Bridgeland would go to Middle School 20, and the rest of the res codes would stay at Smith. Okay, so the res codes that would stay at Smith would be Avalon at Cypress, North Haven Apartments, Camden Cypress Creek Apartments. We have Stone Ridge, Black Horse Ranch, Alice Crossing, Ventura Apartments, Bridge Creek, and Cypress Creek Ranch and Lakes. All of those kids attend Smith now. They would stay at Smith. All of Bridgeland would attend Bridgeland. Okay, Middle School 20. What did I say, Bridgeland? Okay, in Bridgeland. Okay, and this is just a summary of the students that would be moving. We don't put anything regarding the students that are staying. We show you the ones that would be moving. And that's 1,292 students in Bridgeland alone for middle school. Okay. And these are the numbers if we keep Bridgeland as a community school and Smith has everything else. With option 1, like I said, 1,292 students will be rezoned to Middle School 20. And this is why there can be a little bit of concern. It said, while the lines keep all of the Bridgeland students together, the growth continues, and very soon Middle School 20 will be at capacity, which then obviously leads us to now to show you option 2. So again, lopsided on this option for Smith being low. Okay. Okay, option 2. On the left side, the dark blue is the current boundary lines for Smith right now, and the dark black lines represent option 2. This option includes only the southern part of Bridgeland, which is south of Bridgeland Creek Parkway, and also includes Res Code 10, which is Avalon at Cypress, and newly developed, no one there yet, and Res Code 3232 Bridge Creek. So when you look on the proposed map on the right, the yellow area would be Middle School 20, and the blue area would still attend Smith Middle School. Okay, they call it Bridgeland Central, Camden Creek Apartments, and then the others I had listed, the Black Horse and before. And these are the res codes and totals that would be leaving Smith to Middle School 20 with the option 2. That's 641 students. And these are the projected numbers with those proposed zones. Smith stays stable while Middle School 20 grows rapidly. Although opening Middle School 20 will well below their capacity, they would have plenty of room to grow. Natalie?
If I'm reading this correctly, there's something obviously very tidy about a neighborhood going to a school together. And so looking at that 1654 count, that would be kind of outgrowing the capacity of 1539 for middle school number 20. And looking at Smith's current enrollment versus capacity, what is it, how do we handle that much capacity at Smith currently?
A sea of portable buildings.
Right.
Yeah.
Smith right now is 2058, actually today, 2057 on snapshot. So, yeah, portable buildings.
Well, and also that capacity, we can create classrooms with portable buildings, but the other thing you have to think about when we talk about being over and the capacity of the building by that much are also like the large group areas, the cafeterias and the choir rooms and the gyms. It makes it more difficult to have that many students.
The programs, yeah.
So I'm understanding at its highest projection would be 100 students over its capacity. Is that right?
In the next 5 years?
Yeah. Thank you.
Any other questions on option 2 for middle school 20?
Okay. I do have a quick question.
Sure.
Christy, from a transportation standpoint, just looking at the maps, the option 1 compared to option 2 for Smith, are there transportation issues?
Transportation was part of our committee.
They were okay with either one of these options?
They really preferred the Bridgeland community one staying together, but it was actually their recommended that. But again, Avalon being new in Bridge Creek, sometimes it's not as easy getting through those neighborhoods. So they preferred probably the first one, but the numbers also are in 2 years, they're already at capacity.
Right.
Probably shouldn't have answered for them.
That was going to be a question also for me, but on the first presentation on the elementary school, on the I was going to ask the same question on the busing route.
They were involved in every one of these options.
I have a question, and so I'm assuming that we will get into the feeder patterns a little bit later. Okay.
Very thorough presentation.
Yep.
Okay. 2 things for sure, populate elementary 58 and middle school 20. But the rest of this presentation, I'm going to be sharing options to provide relief to existing schools and better utilize schools that are well below capacity. Okay. So again, just a reminder, I'm going to start with high schools first and look at the percent utilization. And we're going to talk about some options for Bridgeland High School and Cypress Ranch High School. As I shared earlier, Cypress Lakes is 95% at this time, so I'm going to focus on those other 2. Okay. Here are our current projections for 6 of our 12 high schools compared to the snapshot along with 5 years of projected numbers. Notice capacities are very similar for these 6 schools. Look at Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch. It's crazy big, especially compared to Cypress Falls, Cy Springs, Cy Woods, and Langham Creek. One good thing is all of these schools had a greater snapshot number than projected. However, it is not necessary to have Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch that high when there's plenty of room in the adjacent schools. Okay. All right, again, scary. Like before, I'm going to walk you through this. Okay. Here are our proposed options for these 6 schools. I need you to remember first, this would only apply to incoming freshmen next year. If you've already started at a particular high school listed in the options that I'm about to go over, you get to stay, and this does not affect you at all. I'm only talking about current 8th graders in these zones, and then every year after, another grade is added. Okay? So let's start with Bridgeland. Currently, Bridgeland is in the entire west green portion of the district on this map. Our option to relieve Bridgeland sends some students to 2 schools. Starting at the top, you have Lakes of Fairhaven, west of Mason, all of Fairfield, all of Dunham Point, and all of Bridgeland would remain at Bridgeland. Okay? The green areas west of Muskee and north of 290, excluding Fairfield and Lakes of Fairhaven, would be rezoned to Cypress Woods. So if you look up top, you see Cypress Woods in the black borderline. The left side, that green, is the part that we are taking or proposing to take from Bridgeland. Then on the southern part of Bridgeland's current attendance boundary, Avalon at Cypress, no one there yet, but they're coming, plus Bridge Creek would be rezoned to Cypress Springs. So if you look at the map at the bottom left corner, you see yellow Cypress Springs in the green area that's coming from Bridgeland. those two sections. Still looking at the map on the left, Cypress Wood recaptures the green part of Bridgeland they had before. And Cypress Springs would adopt two new developments just south of Bridgeland. Okay, if you flip to the next page, which would be page 37, you can see those two changes summarized. Then the left-hand side of the page, notice that the numbers are so small. This is only incoming ninth graders for the 23-24 school year. Bridgeland will lose a total of 158 projected students. However, each year that number will grow, okay? So now look back at the map. Now let's look at Cypress Ranch. The red color is Cypress Ranch current attendance zone. In the bottom right corner of the Cypress Ranch zone, in 2017, these three res codes, 112, 706, and 1022, all parts of Canyon Lakes at Stonegate, were all rezoned to Cypress Ranch. Cypress Ranch has to have relief, so we need to start moving some of the areas back east. This option moves these three sections from Cypress Ranch to Langham Creek High School, which is a total of 172 students. Now looking at Langham Creek, also in 2017, we moved res code 892 and 304080 from Falls to Langham. Langham's the blue area, and then you can see Cypress Falls, the little blue that's going to go there now. Y'all are so good. Okay, now we are proposing to move them back. This would be two sections of Copper Village, north and south of West Road. Okay. And if you look at the next page, 37, that's a summary of all of those changes. You've got Bridgeland to Cy Woods, 130, Bridgeland to Cy Springs, 28, 172 from Ranch to Langham, and then 24 from Langham to Falls. We're kind of giving to Langham and taking from Langham, but giving some to Falls. Okay. All right. In slide 38, here are the projected numbers with all of these proposed changes. It is important that you realize that this is a gradual change in enrollment relief to Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch. We're allowing any student that has already started to attend their school to stay there. This is only for incoming ninth graders and only talking about currently eighth graders. With that, go to the year 26-27 school year to see the impact this proposal has with all four grade levels attending their new proposed schools. Bridgeland 3415 and Ranch 3105. Falls, Langham, and Woods have a decline in enrollment, and don't forget, shifting east is going to have to happen more than once in the future. Okay, are there any questions on relieving Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch? Oh, I'm sorry?
Yeah, actually, it's in the shift over to Langham. I'm just wondering about that Copper Village North and Copper Village South move of just 25 students. What is the effect over many more years? Is it worth messing with the neighborhood zone when it's just such a small yield?
If you look at slide 38, oh, wait. I can give you specifically those res code totals over 4 years because it's kind of hard to tell if a school is declining and we're adding students. If they're declining faster than we're adding, that does make a difference. But I'll get that number for you in just a minute.
And I think, Mr. Ron, correct me if I'm wrong, I think when we get to the alignment of the feeder patterns also with this adjustment, we're going to be able to have a pure feeder from Aragon to Langham.
And Libi to Falls.
Wow, that's definitely worth a small adjustment.
But again, that's something you have to weigh. I mean, you're asking a great question, which one do you want to have, anyway, so.
One thing you can tell, again, not as big a difference, but if you look at Langham now, projected 2551, and then Langham with these changes in 26-27 or with no changes is 2418. And then when you make these changes, they're at 2955, just with those three areas. But in Falls, again, I can get you the numbers of exactly what those res codes were doing without impacting the other parts of Cy Falls. And again, we will have to start shifting more east. This was a start.
is that one that shifted back and forth between those two schools?
The last time they shifted was 2017, so that was 5 years ago. By the time this happens, it would be 6.
Thank you.
That happened when we opened Bridgeland and Cy Park. And when we shifted all of the Bridgeland students out of Ranch, it took their enrollment way down, and then Falls was exploding. So we needed to give some relief. So it's kind of, it's interesting the way it changes over 5 or 6 years.
Okay. All right, that was high school relief. Are we ready for elementary relief? Okay. All right. Remember these? Hancock is 120, Rennell 120. You've seen this. I also want you to look at Metcalf at 63%, Bain at 75%. You could stare at this thing forever. Let's look at Hancock first. They were also one of the schools earlier that jumped to 152% in 9 years. It appears to be a rejuvenated area, and also there are new and many old existing apartment complexes in that attendance zone. They were projected at 120%. They're actually 113% today. However, the capacity of Hancock is only 856 students, and at snapshot they were 970. So it's just a smaller school. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and jump to this slide real quick so you can see. Look at the difference in capacity of the schools that we're about to talk about. The age of these schools are, Hancock 73, Yeager 75, Franco 1978. With the exception of Danish that was in 2005 and the new Matsky, all of these capacities are lower than the newer schools. So let me go back to, did someone have a question? Nope, okay. All right, so following along, the same thing. All right, look at the map on the left, looking at the colors, okay? Find Hancock, it's the yellow area, okay? We're proposing to give a small section to Yeager, which is on the east side of the Hancock boundary, and then the west side of Hancock, give a little portion to Matsky. So when we do that to relieve Hancock, now the dominoes start to fall, right? Look at Yeager first, which is the pink area, the far northeast corner of the district. We're proposing to give a section east of 1960, just south of Mills Road, to Francone. And geographically, that just makes sense. It's below 290. They're going all the way to Yeager. So that was that geographical decision. Now find Francone, which is the purple area on the right. It's purple on mine. It's kind of bluish on yours. There is an area in the east of 1960, again, south of Mills. We're proposing to move that purple section to Francone, from Francone to Wilburn, that bright green area. Can you see the outline with the green on the south and the blue on the north? Okay, good. Then going back above 1960, as a result of giving some of the adjacent Hancock to Matsky in the red, we needed to move a few areas from Matsky to Millsap, which is the blue area, from red Matsky to blue Millsap, and a tiny piece of Danish you can see at the very below Matsky's building, the tiny piece from to Danish. Okay, now find Adam. This is a turquoise color. For some reason, there's a little rectangle inside Adam's boundary line that attends Millsap. We're proposing that they attend Adam. We're fixing that. Okay. I shouldn't say fix. We are making this change proposal. Okay, with these recommendations, the map on the right shows the proposed boundary lines for 23-24 school year with all of the changes that I just mentioned. Okay. And again, when you go home and study, take your map, take your summary, you can see the numbers, where they are, and the changes where we're proposing them to go. Okay. And then with these changes, okay, under these proposed zones, I want you to look at the capacity of each one of these schools and then follow the numbers to the right all the way across. You can see how balanced those numbers are compared to the wide variety of capacities of the older schools. We relieve Hancock and better utilize the surrounding adjacent schools. Any questions on relieving this option for Hancock? Huh? Yeah, it's, well, fortunately, I have 20-something people on the committee and an amazing boundary projections and planning department with Laura and Chris Henning. Okay. Now, okay, Metcalf Elementary School utilization. Okay, let's talk about better utilizing Metcalf. Metcalf was projected at 654. I'm happy to say that they were 681 on snapshot, but their capacity is 1037, which puts them at 66% utilization. We looked at 2 adjacent schools who have much smaller capacities and came up with this option. Starting with Metcalf in the bottom right, the bottom light pink area. Yeah, it's light pink. We took 4 res codes from Holmesley and gave to Metcalf. One of the res codes is below the street name Queenston. It's res code 23, so you don't see it. It just looks like 3 res codes, but there's actually 4 res codes, but it's actually 5. Okay. Then a result of taking from Holmesley, we needed to pull from Lowry to give to Holmesley. In the end, you can see Lowry is giving students to Holmesley and Holmesley is giving students to Metcalf. Lowry is not getting any students. So Lowry to Holmesley, Holmesley to Metcalf. Okay, the next slide summarizes those changes. And the next slide shows the totals. You can see Metcalf has the largest capacity out of the 3 schools. If you follow the proposed zones numbers all the way across, the numbers are much better in proportion to their capacity. All campuses are declining in enrollment, campuses but are better utilized. Any questions on the better utilization of Metcalf? Okay, this is probably the easiest one we have. This is a similar situation where not only can we better utilize Bain, but geographically it just makes sense. Bain has a capacity of 1,005 students and is currently at 73% utilization. Holbrook has a capacity of 976 and is currently at 98% utilization. When you look at their boundary lines, it makes geographical sense for the 5 res codes that are south of 290 currently going to Bain Elementary to move them to Holbrook Elementary, making 290 the dividing line. Okay. Get the summary of the 5 res codes that we would like to move from Holbrook to Bain. And then the numbers that reflect that change. As you can see, both Bain and Holbrook remain pretty stable, and both schools are still projected to operate below capacity, but way more proportional and better utilized than before. All right. Any questions on Bain Holbrook? We all good? Take a break? All right. All right, just a reminder, look at ALT's attendance zone. We've kind of focused on the Red, Rennell, and Hancock. I want you to look at ALT's attendance zone. Dunham Point is coming. We have to be proactive and prepare for these kids. Keith could also use some relief compared to its adjacent neighbors, Swinkie and A-Rob. These are small changes, but it's a start. Looking at the map on the left, we're taking res code 2918, we call it Fairfield South. It's right by Sirage, it's just past the Outlet Mall. And direct it to Swinkie, along with res code 169, Avenues at Cypress Apartment, with a total of 82 students. Then res code 120, Fairwood Meadows, west of Mushkey. It's brown on mine, yes. Not in Fairfield, we moved them from Alt to Keith. Okay. From the beige to the green, 55 students. If you remember, Keith is over 100% and A-Rob is 80%. So we need to move some from Keith to adjacent A-Rob. Res code 72, which is Hidden Arbor, and res code 700, Riverton Ranch, totaling 63 students on the east side of Mushkey, to A-Rob. We did look at the 2 large areas that are also on the east side of Mushkey, but they were over 300 students in those 2 areas, and that would really make Keith lower than they need to be. You like to just take one of those Etch-a-Sketch things and just rip it up and just start all over, but we just can't do that. And you can see the summary of the table of the proposed changes to balance the 4 schools to prepare for the Dunham Point students. And these are the numbers. The capacities are very similar, with Alt being the smallest of the 4. You can also see that every campus, with the exception of Alt, has a declining population. Alt is going to continue to grow with the Dunham Point development. This is another area that we will have to continue to monitor and possibly continue to shift north and east, depending on the growth. Okay, questions on the Alt, Keith, Swinky, A-Rob?
Just out of curiosity, how soon do we think we'll be building schools in Dunham Point?
We have land that we have purchased in Dunham Point that we can consider for, for building schools.
We have the land, Ms. Blackshear, but we do not have the funds to, we'd have to go out for another bond program.
Would have to be a bond.
Yeah. And so that's really, part of the priority with some of the shifts that we're recommending or looking at to see if we can, minimize the timeline, or maximize the timeline, I should say.
Prolong the bond. Okay. Walker is kind of like Alt. Walker, if you saw all those arrows that Pasa showed on those utilization charts, we need to be proactive for Walker as well. This option is to prepare Walker for the growth that's occurring on a daily basis. Grand Mason, Res Code 888 and 999, along with Marvitas, south of Loganbow, Res Code 162. These 3 sections alone are projected to produce more than 500 students in the next 4 years. Okay? Looking at the map on the left and finding 604A that is currently in the Walker zone, but is now inside the proposed black lines for Duryea. That area is called Canyon Village at Cypress Springs. PASA has them separated since 604B is the actual plat of land where Cypress Springs High School and Hopper are situated, but we're proposing to move all of 604 to Duryea. There's no one in 604B, and that's just kind of our school property. And then 604A, which is the Canyon Village of Cypress Springs, move that to Duryea. And on the right, you can see the proposed zones moving 604B to Duryea to offer relief to Walker, or prepare, be proactive. Okay. Again, that's just that one res code. It does have 319 students in it, but we're Canyon Village, Cypress Springs to prepare for the growth that Walker's going to have. And we moved that Marvita north last year. Nobody lived in it yet. We moved that already. So, and then these are the numbers of what that would look like. So although currently all schools are below capacity, you could see that Walker and Andre are growing fast. On the proposed total, there's an asterisk by Andre starting in 2024-25. And coincidentally, that is what I'm going to talk about next. Okay, any questions on that one little change from Walker to Duryea? Okay. All right, Rennell Elementary School, enrollment relief for 23-24, and then Elementary School 59 in 24-25. Okay. So, again, we have Rennell at 120. They're slightly below that, but that was not going to last long. So, if you look at the map on the left, I want you to look at the brown area going up and down. Okay, that is Town Lake, and that is Rennell. Made up of res codes 274A, 274B, and 91. We just call that 274, period. PASA split it because they knew eventually that we thought that we would have to split the north and south when Elementary 59 was built. Okay, so we need to give Rennell relief, but we can't take all of the southern part of Town Lake just yet until 59 is finished. So I'm going to go over the plan to relieve Rennell enough for 1 year, and then share the proposal to populate 59, which will provide the rest of the relief. Okay? So if we move Res Code 91, which is the Cantera Apartments and the Lakeshore section of Town Lake, to Postma. So everybody see now, Postma's in the green. It kind of makes a U shape-ish. And 91 is the brown part of Town Lake and Rennell that has an apartment complex in the Lakeshore subdivision of Rennell. If we just move that part down into Postma for now, that gives them a little bit of relief, which is approximately 135 students, and that's a start, okay? Then to help Postma, we move Res Code 177, Westlake Park Apartments, and Res Code 706, Canyon Lakes at Stonegate South, to Copeland, that blue area. So that green area to the far right on top, that would leave Postma and go to Copeland, okay? With the map on the right summarizing the proposed changes for the 23-24 school year. So basically 91 from Rennell to Postma, and then those two res codes, 177 and 706 from Postma to Copeland. Okay. Again, summarizing those numbers when you're studying, you have those res codes with those numbers of students. And with those proposed changes, notice even adding 179 kids to Copeland, they still have a declining enrollment. It's a little smaller capacity, but not much. In Rennell and Postma, more balanced, but wait, 59's coming to Mira Mesa in 2024. So they'll get more relief in 2024. This is not, the Rennell numbers, this does not include when we build 59 yet. This is just with these changes. Okay. Any questions on this? Relief for Rennell. Let's start. Okay. Speaking of 59, all right. The map on the left is current if the proposed option to relieve Rennell is accepted, meaning if you like what I just showed you, then that would be the current zones for the 23-24 school year. And that map is represented on the left. You can see 91's already with Postma, and it's the green. Okay, and the beige is the now, or the would-be now, Rennell, and you have Andre, and then you have Wells. Okay, so elementary 59 is located in the middle of Mira Mesa, and is a big part of Postma's enrollment. That plan would be to not only populate 59, but also to relieve Wells, Andre, and Rennell. In the purple Wells attendance zone, we would take Res Code 10, which is Avalon at Cypress, currently no students, but they're coming, and Res Code 3232 Bridge Creek, and rezone them to elementary 59. As we would take both sections of Mira Mesa from Postma and move them to 59. Right? So the new 59 would be just that, Avalon at Cypress, Bridge Creek, and all of Mira Mesa. See the two purple res codes, and then the two res codes that make up Mira Mesa. Okay. Then looking at the brown Rennell zone, we would take the rest of the southern part of Town Lake, which is 274A, and move it to Postma. And since we were talking all of the Mira Mesa, taking all the Mira Mesa from Postma, Postma needs more students, and Andre needs relief. So it's a perfect plan. And if you look at the map on the right, it shows the proposed zones with all of the options included for both the 23-24 school year and the 24-25 school year. Okay. And just so you know, Avalon at Cypress, in the next 4 years, Avalon at Cypress alone, Res Code 10, is 498 students. Bridge Creek in 4 years is 233 students. So those two, low now, but they're coming. Okay. So again, a summary of those changes. The very large number of movement involved here because of where the school's located. Okay, and right now I want you to look at just 23, 24 first. Yes, Wells is getting bigger, but Bridgeland is still growing. Good news that there are about 40 students under that projected number. That's a first for them since they were around 1,900 last year. Then in 24, 25, when Elementary 59 opens in Mira Mesa, look at the numbers for the 5 elementary schools. Much better. Again, this is a slide that tells us that we still need to closely monitor Bridgeland and the areas surrounding that community because of all of the growth. Okay, y'all made it. Everybody okay? Because we're going to talk about feeder patterns. Short. We are so proud of y'all. Okay. Okay, yes, this is a lot. But I hope you understand the committee's intent on each one of these options that we've shared with you. And with these proposed changes, the committee recommends the following minor adjustments to a few secondary level schools to realign these feeder patterns as a result of these proposals that we've given you tonight. Okay, so we remember the first elementary 58. Okay, we moved Res Code 3380B from Sheridan to McPhee. It's that light blue triangle that Mr. Scanlon was talking about, right below West New York. Everybody sees that? Okay. Actually, it's the other triangle. There's lots of triangles up there. Sorry. Look in Sheridan. Look in Sheridan, the very top, light blue, 3380B. Does everybody see that? It goes Sheridan to McPhee. Okay. When we did that, this is what happened to the middle school. It ended up being the only area from Watkins that is in the Thornton zone that would be going to Watkins. So we recommend you moving 3380B from Watkins to Thornton. Okay? We don't want to move something out of, from Sheridan to McPhee and it being the only little school only little pocket that's going to go back to Watkins. We'd like it to still be at Thornton with the rest. Okay? And if we do that, it's 108 students. It's Brentwood. It's the North Gummert Road. And the numbers for proposed changes, notice Thornton has a much larger capacity than Watkins. And I want to also add that Thornton is probably, I say way overprojected compared to its snapshot. So Thornton's numbers are a little skewed. You could actually reduce some of those projected numbers all the way across. Okay. Okay. Then when we proposed an option to relieve Cypress Ranch, we had the 3 res codes that went from Ranch to Langham, and then we had 2 res codes that went from Langham Creek to Falls. The 3 res codes, they're in the red area on the left that are going to Langham Creek, and then the ones that are blue in Langham Creek going to Falls. When we did that, as we talked about a while ago, some feeder patterns, the 2 sections that are in the proposed end up being the only 2 sections or areas that would attend to Aragon. If we move these 2 sections from Aragon to Lybi, not only does it make a pure feeder to Langham, it also makes Lybi a pure feeder to Cy Falls. And again, these are the neighborhoods, Copper Village north of west and Copper Village south of west, 63 students. These are middle school students. And again, you can see with this option, both schools are a little more balanced. Very similar capacities, but before they were 300 apart and now they're 100-ish going across. 100 to 200. Okay. And when I presented the option to relieve Hancock, there were 2 areas that needed adjustment on the feeder pattern alignment. On the map on the left, I need you to find the Matsky red area to the Millsap, so the red to the blue. Does everybody see that? And then also find the Jaeger pink to the Francone purple. See that? When we did that, you could see that it would be the only section that would be in Blyle, that would go back to Blyle. So we would like to propose that we move those kids from Blyle to Arnold. And then down below, we propose to move the kids from Blyle to Campbell so that they're not the only students going to Campbell, or to Blyle. And it's closer, right down the street. Okay. These are the res codes involved with that one. Approximately 74 students from Blyle to Arnold and 61 students from Blyle to Campbell. Okay. As a result of these proposed changes, here are the projected numbers. Look at Arnold and Blyle are a little more balanced, and Campbell stays stable all the way across. All right, last but not least, the same group we moved from Matsken to Millsap and Blyle to Arnold would be the only area that would attend Cypress Creek. So we propose to move them from Cypress Creek to Cy-Fair High School. Again, it's a total of 33 total high school ninth graders. If you look, this is the same changes we've talked about in the last two levels of elementary and middle. With 33 high school students, 33 high school students, and then these are the numbers with this option. I do want to point out that Cy-Fair is actually, actually 57 students higher from the snapshot. Cy Creek is actually 92 students below that snapshot. So again, go across and it's a little bit higher and lower for each school. All right, I added this slide in here because since high school is a gradual implementation of the proposed changes, if you look at the 26-27 school year and look at the numbers with all of the proposed changes, the projected results are pretty incredible. So our goal in the beginning was to relieve Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch. I feel the combination of options provided relief while minimizing the changes. Again, sure, we could make more changes, but again, minimizing to relieve Bridgeland and Cypress Ranch was our goal, and better utilizing other campuses at the same time. Okay, almost there. So, again, 22-23 numbers. If all the elementary options we propose tonight are approved as is, this is what the 23-24 utilization map would look like. No reds, not as many dark blues. It does look red there. It's not red on mine. Okay, these again are the middle schools now. If middle school option 1 that we propose tonight is approved as is, this is what the 23-24 utilization map would look like. Okay. If middle school option 2 that we propose tonight is approved as is, this is what the 23-24 utilization map would look like. Oh, so sorry. Middle school 41%. And again, the high school now, and with all of those proposed changes, and this one is 26-27. The utilization map would look like this once all grade levels made the move for 9 through 12. Okay. Quickly, I'm just going to go over what those transfer rules for elementary, middle, and high. You have a question?
I'd be intrigued to see a 26-27 for elementary and middle school as well, just to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Utilization?
Yes, percentage utilization. Thinking about, if there were ever special programs or things you were trying to utilize space in, what would still be a location that would still begs for capacity? or
We can do
students in the
that.
capacity.
We can do that assuming these
Are
the-
approved.
the-
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
All right. The boundary transfer rules for elementary school. Any elementary school student affected by this boundary change who will be in the 5th grade for the 23-24 school year may remain at their current elementary school on a transfer if their parents provide transportation. This opportunity will not be available for younger siblings. It's your 4th grade now, and you want to stay, you can. Your parents have to provide transportation. Okay. Middle school. Any middle school student affected by this boundary change who will be in the 8th grade for the 23-24 school year may remain in their current middle school on a student transfer if their parents provide transportation. This opportunity will not be available for the other younger siblings either. So 7th grade now. Okay, high school. Only incoming 9th graders the year of the scheduled boundary change would be required to move to high school in the new attendance zone. Sibling transfers. Students who are affected by high school boundary changes who will have an older sibling in grades 10, 11, or 12 attending the affected high school may choose to transfer to their original high school rather than attend the high school designated by the rezoning. The sibling transfer will remain eligible for UIL varsity participation, and they will be allowed to remain until graduation. Okay. And finally, starting tomorrow, we are going to post this presentation on the district website. We will use school messenger, district and campus websites, campus newsletter to share this information. If you'd like to provide feedback to this proposal, you can click on the link, or you can use your phone and access our form stack with the given QR code. We're looking forward to hearing from all of you. Cypress-Fairbanks values your feedback and support as it prioritizes providing outstanding educational experiences to students across the district. That. I know this is a lot of information. I know it's overwhelming. I hope you take the time to study this information that I shared tonight. I did want to say this. The District Boundary Committee takes the boundary changes very seriously. Moving students is not ideal. However, it is sometimes necessary to balance enrollment. It's never an easy decision, and we feel these options move the minimum number of students to offer the necessary amount of relief for the immediate future. While doing so, we've proposed better utilization of several campuses and helped balance enrollment at adjacent campuses. Any questions?
Looking to the right. Questions?
No questions, just you did a really fantastic job, and thanks to the committee, there's a lot of thought put into the projections to the future, and I really appreciate the zones, the middle school to high school zone considerations that were added at the end.
Outstanding job as always. There's always questions when you're going through, but when you come out with the ultimate numbers where they're going to be at, it's like, great job then. On how you seem to get those numbers where they need to be and stuff. And not taking into account that, if something springs up somewhere else, we're going to have to do something again in the coming years and stuff. So anyway, appreciate all your work and stuff and your staff.
And looking to the left. Comments, questions? Lucas?
I'm just looking for feeder pattern adjustments, so no questions at this time. I'll study.
Okay.
Debbie?
No questions, just a comment. My mind is still swirling and I think my eyes are crossed. But you and your committee, Christy, did an outstanding job in this, and you can tell that a lot of thought and work went into it of where there would be, shall I say, the least amount of discomfort.
Julie?
Again, thank you so much for the thorough presentation. I think I especially appreciate the looking forward to elementary school 59 opening. So rather than just going through, let's just look at 58 and middle school number 20. And then in a year, going through this process, let's just look at it all together. I think that's very strategic and very much appreciated. It is a lot of information. I will send my questions through email. When community folks can provide their input and ask their questions, in the past, those emails have been batched and sent to us. Are you going to do that again?
We do the same thing.
Okay, fantastic, thank you. And I would encourage my fellow board members, as you get those, if you have questions, to reach out to Christy or to
Laura.
Yes, to Laura to ask those specific questions. This process is always challenging, a very difficult process. In the past, our district has accommodated growth by building new schools, right? And so we're getting very close to build out. We're at what, 84, 87% built out, but still with a lot to grow, right? Through Bridgeland and Avalon and all those. So I think that this tweaking of attendance zones is going to become more the standard, the norm, once we've built out. And we've seen that in other school districts as well. So thank you for holding our hands through this process. And
we're great students.
Thanks so much.
So other questions on the right? So a couple of observations. First, looking back in hindsight, was it a good move for us to go to PASA, for them to do the demographic work for us and the projections?
I personally, I know my team, we really appreciate PASA and their feedback, having another party to bounce ideas off of. And I mean, they do a lot of the behind-the-scenes work. I know that the neighborhoods and the developers, and sometimes give us information faster than the developers.
You know, the next part of it, will we have any of these maps online that are zoomable?
We can get you some maps that are zoomable, for sure. I think we have a district PDF that would be great for your res code, so you could zoom in. We have a land usage, and then we have every one of our levels of schools by grade by res code, so we could do that as well.
And will we make that available to our patrons as well?
We can, absolutely.
Yeah, Sure, no problem, right? As we were going through the maps, I really wanted to be able to zoom in.
Oh, yeah.
To see major streets and how many kids were we transporting across major streets, and what major streets and boundaries were we trying to still honor. A number of our neighborhoods are very mature, and since we're in the suburbs, that typically takes time for them to regrow. You mentioned it early on, are we seeing some of our mature neighborhoods starting to have a rebirth?
Sure. I mean, you've seen Fairfield go through it. You've seen Hancock is going through that, Jersey Village.
And is that about a 30-year process, or a little longer or shorter?
I'm not sure the exact years that it takes to do that, but we've just seen it happen throughout different areas of the district. Cypress Creek too as well.
Do we take a look to see, are we transferring a disproportionate number of Title I or non-Title I when we make the moves?
I mean, we look at overall possible economically disadvantaged percentages once we have an option, but we don't use that as part of our decision when we are making the boundary lines.
So after we have transferred, do we have any concern that we may be overloading a particular school, either with Title I or non-Title I? So is there a better balance or not?
The numbers I've seen so far, no. The bottom southwest portion of the district, that's the demographics down there a little bit different, and we're looking at those closely based on just different projected numbers. We're excited to see PASA's numbers in the spring without a COVID year involved in it, because these are from October 21, numbers that we're using for October of 23. And so we feel that the numbers are going to be, I would say, more accurate in the spring of 23 when we get them this year for the demographic update.
I would also add my voice to my colleagues. Thank you for doing a good, thorough job. I like the idea of trying to have a better feeder pattern from middle schools to high school. I touched on this earlier with my comments about our valuing fine arts, but really all of our co- and extracurricular activities, and that a better middle school to high school feeder pattern enhances the experience both in fine arts as well as athletics.
We can't always do it, but when we can, we get super excited.
So I was happy to see that. Okay. Gilbert.
The response that you will get back, and I guess it goes to Teresa or yourselves from the concerned
Community.
parents, because this is much larger than the one we did a couple of years ago and stuff with Andre and stuff. I'm sure we're staffed for that though, but how does that particularly work? Because I think you might get quite a bit more until everything is fully explained over.
Right.
and
We have
over.
actually, for the help of Leslie and her team, we have tried to have a set of questions that will then filter the answers. And, yeah, this form stack, and then as a result of this answer, it will then send you to another area. Then what school does your child attend, what grade? And so we've tried to separate it kind of by these options to help us and to help you. So we're not having to read through and figure out, we can see where the majority of the feedback is coming from, and we can just more properly sort it by level.
Right. I appreciate that though. I would foresee a little bit more than what you got last time.
Right.
Though, but,
Me too.
Yes, but we all hope for the best as always. So.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 4B. The administration will discuss district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. This item may be discussed in closed session pursuant to Section 551.076 of the Texas Government Code. There are no speakers on this topic this evening. Is any portion of this going to be in public, or is it all in closed session?
There's a small section in public.
Excellent. Chief, the microphone is yours.
All righty. So as you said, the audits that the state ordered. So back in June of this year, Governor Abbott created several directives for school districts to provide intrusion audits and other audits that happen throughout the district. So in June of 2022, our school district, along with all the other school districts in the state of Texas, we're going to go through intruder audits that were to be overseen by the Texas School Safety Center and through each ESC across the state. So 75% of our campuses need to be done before December, and then 100% of the campuses need to be done before the end of the school year. There are 3 phases, really 4 phases. I just call it 4 phases. Phase 1, the auditor will come to the campus and try to make entry into the campus. They will make 2 attempts at 2 different doors to gain entry. The second phase is that they will then, after either successfully or unsuccessfully gaining entry, they will contact the school administration, go through the regular check-in procedures, and ask for an administrator to escort them while they check every single exterior door around the campus to ensure that it's secured and locked. Phase 3, they will do a random sample of all the classrooms. If our district, and our district does, have a directive that we will keep all our doors locked and closed on our classrooms when education is taking place. The final phase is the weekly exterior door sweep audits. As part of the directive that came out in the summer, our campuses are required to do weekly door sweeps to make sure that all our doors are locked and closed that are supposed to be locked and closed. There are some exceptions that came out, I think around September, if I remember correctly, and then a door can stay unlocked or propped open. We require they stay locked. You can prop them if they're being actively monitored, or there's an area that is secured around the doors that are unlocked. So an example is there's a courtyard in Bridgeland High School that students traverse to get from one wing to the other. That courtyard is secured with fencing that's secured and locked. So the doors between the hallways stay open or unlocked, so they can move back and forth because we know that that courtyard is secured. So that gives you an idea of that. And then again, for safety ventilation purposes, our auto shops, our woodworking, whatever, they have large roll-up doors. Those are allowed to be opened for ventilation while they work, as long as they're properly monitored. So the teacher, the staff have to be present while they're doing that work so that they're monitored. Closed door audit. Our district, as I said, we do have a directive that our doors remained locked and closed during instructional time. And so that is part of the third phase. Each school district, after the audit takes place, the auditor informs the campus of their findings out of those 4 phases. The school district is also notified, the superintendent is notified by the ESC region, that Region 4, correct? We're Region 4. They will notify Dr. Henry of the findings, and then we have, as a school district, 45 days to take corrective action. Once we take corrective action, we have to hold a Safety and Security Committee meeting, and then we have to report to the Board of Trustees, and then we have to send the minutes from both meetings and the corrective action that took place back to the School Safety Center to show that we've met the requirements. During the period of September 15th and October 14th, we had 6 audits conducted. There were 7 findings. All corrective actions have been completed by all the campuses. We had our District Safety and Security Committee meeting on November 3rd, and 2 of our board members were present, and you are aware of the findings and the corrective actions that took place, and now we bring that before the Board of Trustees. And if you want to know in depth, that's for closed session. Oh, I'm sorry.
If you look in Board Book, you actually have a report on each campus with the details. So we can go to closed session if you have questions about that, or you can review the information that's provided.
Any questions I can answer in public?
Well, first, is that the end of your public presentation?
That is, sir.
Okay. So for the board, and we do have the audit results. I know when I saw it the first time, I had questions. And those questions and the answers are properly done in closed session. And if any one board member wants to go to closed session, we will go to closed session. So let me look to the right. None. To the left.
I guess I'm going to be the bad guy. I'd like to go to closed session.
That's fine. And frankly, I'm very comfortable being in closed session. I know when we've talked about it before, in another governance capacity, we had the ability to go to closed session, and it's just a more appropriate venue.
It's an important topic that I'd like to be able to unpack.
Good. Thank you, Chief.
You're welcome, sir.
We will now proceed with the citizen participation portion of the agenda. Per BED local, patrons may address the board during the regular board meeting under citizen participation on any matters of interest or concerns that are not posted agenda items. Individuals may only register to speak one time per meeting and must register in advance. Registration opens the day the agenda is posted to the district website, and the deadline for registering is 12 p.m. on the day of the meeting. To register, individuals must click on the Register to Speak link found under the Citizen Participation heading in the agenda for that meeting on the district website. This electronic speaker form must be completed in its entirety. Any registered speaker who is absent from the meeting at the time for citizen participation forfeits the opportunity to address the board at that meeting, but may submit written comments to the board. Just a reminder, patrons who have registered to speak this evening may see the order of the names listed on the screens to your right and to your left. Before your name is called, please move forward and sit in one of the 2 reserved seats on the front row. We have 6 speakers this evening. Mr. Secretary, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I remember the buzzer.
And If you would, when you come up to speak, the yellow light will come on, but the buzzer will not sound. So I will ask our secretary to make some type of noise to let you know, well, maybe not that noise. Oh, golly. When the red light comes on, you'll have a sentence to be able to wrap up your comments. If you take more than a sentence, I will interrupt and ask you to conclude. Our first speaker is Dominique Howard. Ms. Howard? I believe Ms. Howard has forfeited the opportunity to speak. Our second speaker is Julie Ricks.
Education over indoctrination. The new committee, Opportunity for All, and various other clubs like Black Student Union, Asian Student Union, Muslim Student Association, and others that are racist in name, are the result of woke ideology, which is purposely designed to create division. Scandalous UNICEF is a club. These clubs are eligible for stipends, which equate to taxpayer money, and the money should not be allowed in public schools. Have them elsewhere. The new committee, Opportunity for All, has given one board member the authority to choose all its members. Definitely hypocritical, but is it legal? Every committee and club must be revisited and reviewed for motive and meet standards of promoting unity, wholesome values, and that protect students' welfare and have a goal of helping students be successful adults. An example of a common sense idea that should be considered is Adulting Day, offering various sessions like purchasing your first home, how to parallel park, self-defense, looking sharp, how to tie a tie, sewing basics, interviewing basics, basic auto maintenance, proper traffic stop procedures, how to set a table and proper etiquette, basic first aid, CPR and Heimlich, fishing 101, basics of knot tying, establishing and maintaining good credit. Florida Governor DeSantis signed a bill requiring high school students to take financial literacy with lessons in credit scores, managing credit card debt, types of bank accounts, and how to file your taxes in order to graduate. Why aren't we doing this? We can literally see the results of the woke agenda in reading and math skills, school choice over public school monopoly, indoctrination camps that resist returning to basics, academic excellence, and common sense. I made a copy for everyone. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Monica Dean.
All right, going back to Thanksgiving, I want to give thanks to our library staff, our teachers, our administration for their tireless efforts working towards completing this enormous task in reviewing and cataloging books, working with vendors on providing age-appropriate books, creating a more efficient way to populate the books into the system using an app, and also allowing parents the opt-out option until this process is complete or beyond, because we as parents are the ultimate authority in our child's education. I also want to give thanks to Dr. Blassingame, Mr. Henry, and Mr. Scanlon for listening to their constituents and pressing to implement a policy in regards to concerns about the sexually explicit books found in our libraries. If a book is pervasively vulgar and offensive and appears to violate the Texas Penal Code 43.21, will it still be allowed to be on the shelves or online, or will it be removed? Dr. Macias mentioned that during the process, there were actually some books that teachers pulled out of their classroom collections after reviewing the content. What are the district's guidelines to deeming a book sexually explicit or age inappropriate? Since we know that there will be an opt-in option for kids as young as 13 or 8th grade, what constitutes a book being labeled as adult? I'm told these can be found on our website under Instructional Resources Collection Development. Dr. Blassingame mention that an awesome teacher and parent teamed up to catalog over 385 books in her classroom. And while it was time-consuming, it was doable. So I wanted to just put it out there that I do have a group of parent volunteers that are willing to assist, if needed, to meet the January 13th goal. I believe implementing this new library system and process ultimately provides the district with better data, which equals better transparency for parents, and once successfully executed, can be the blueprint for other districts to follow.
Our next speaker is Stacy DeMeyer.
I would like to speak tonight about one of my favorite places in CFISD, the Science Resource Center. This morning, I spent some time at the Nature Trails, which, for those of y'all who don't know, is a large wooded area owned by our district where every 3rd and 5th grader will visit for a field trip this year. I was at the Nature Trails this morning to be trained as a volunteer for when my 3rd grader has his field trip. While this was my first time at the Nature Trails, it was not my first time training with the SRC. I'm trained to present several demos and am acting as the SRC coordinator for our school this year. And I don't say all this to brag about my volunteer efforts, but rather to show how much time I've spent at the SRC and interacting with folks who work there. The SRC is an absolute treasure in our district, and I'm constantly talking about how lucky our students are to have such a resource. The board and administrative team that approved the funding for the SRC should be commended, and I'm thankful to the district for continuing to fund this amazing resource we give our students, teachers, and community. Did y'all know that over the summer, the SRC manager, David Wallace, uses his downtime to give tours to the Cyfair community? Lastly, the SRC would not be what it is without the amazing team that runs it. I have had extensive interaction with Laurel Frank, and she is truly wonderful. She goes above and beyond to train and support district volunteers. And not only that, when the volunteers arrive in the morning to pick up their demo animals, she welcomes us to have our kids tag along, is so happy to give them a mini tour of the center, and even gives them a chance to hold animals. I encourage all parents and grandparents to train with SRC, and if you're a community member with no children in the district, become a global volunteer. My school is lucky enough to have volunteers to cover every demo for every grade, but there are many schools without volunteers that are able to do this, and these kids are seriously missing out. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Mark Golaby.
Good evening once again. Thanks for a quick minute here to the Cyfair board in the district. I wanted to discuss that there's and make y'all aware of an essay contest that's being conducted by the True Texas Project. The True Texas Project exists to educate and motivate citizen engagement in all levels of government. Their core beliefs are in constitutional government, national sovereignty, fiscal responsibility, personal responsibility, and rule of law. True Texas Project has 18 chapters from the Texas Panhandle to the Rio Grande Valley, and because of their Northwest Harris County chapter, Cyfair students, junior or senior in high school, are eligible to compete in their Golden Eagle Essay Contest. Winners of the contest can get first prize is a Gold Eagle coin, the second prize is a 10-ounce silver bar, and the third prize is a Silver Eagle coin. All three winners will get 2 tickets to their Christmas party. Time is of the essence. They just introduced this, and they've got a deadline of November 30th. But I have some of the material here, and I can provide digital renditions of it as well, so that we can try to get this information out to the district and see how many kids might want to participate in submitting an essay. So with that, thank you.
And Mark, do you have a copy or instructions for the digital link?
I'll send that to Marnie. Okay, I'll send it to Marnie and tomorrow, and we'll get it out.
Yeah, and then she can send it
Sure.
around. Thank
Okay.
you. Our next speaker is Donna Stallone.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I know it's not easy to do civic duty when you have things going on in your family, and
There's obviously a lot of life that's happened in the last 30 days. I can't believe it's been 30 days, and I do have information to give you. Mr. Garcia, I'm sorry we weren't able to meet over the last 30 days, but I wanted to offer up a couple of things that I have learned here recently. For those of you who may not know, there is another game in town as far as training for superintendents and trustees. It's a Back to Basics program offered by the Gulf Coast Community Action Agency. The second program they're offering will be on December 9th and 10th of this year. They will be doing training throughout the state, throughout the rest of the year, that is TEA approved, and you can get your continuing education unit. So I wanted to let you know about that. And then the other thing is when I know this has been mentioned before, that we have about 25% of our students in CFISD that are below are approaching reading levels in third grade. And I wanted to offer up an idea that was presented to me when we were, the 1 year that we weren't in CFISD, we got moved to Minnesota. And they had a reading buddy program where 11th and 12th graders would come in and read with the students in the hallway. It was really an event. The kids looked forward to it. They sat with the 11th and 12th graders and they read books. And it gave them an opportunity to meet with somebody other than, the teacher, and somebody that was closer to their age. And so it was really a great idea. So I just thought I'd throw that out there as an opportunity for something for CFICD to consider. So thank you.
Before we move to closed session, I would like to thank everyone for being here tonight, and I would also like to thank those who are watching from home. May I have a motion to move into closed session on agenda item 4B?
So moved.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All in favor, please raise your right hand. We are in closed session. Mr. Secretary, please mark the time as 9:11. Yeah.